Hello, everybody. Karsen here, and I'm with Brandon, Lambert.
Or you can call me BT Clutch.
Of course, yes. So what are we doing right now? What are we doing here?
Well, Carson, I'll just take the pressure off of you and I'll go ahead and lay it out. This is our first episode of our podcast that we've been talking about for months and months and months.
Years, actually, since 2023.
And here we are.
Yep, it's always been on our to-do list. Actually, there's a lot of things on our to-do list that we've always had in the can for a couple years.
Now we have the perfect place to tell everyone about them.
Yep, and we're going to talk about all of them, and we're going to knock them all out, and we're going to talk about the big one that we just recently did last week, the last ride, and this is just the pilot. We're going to see how this goes, and then if it does well, we're going to do more.
Yeah, these are the short-term plans, because, most people that know me bring up any topic at all, and I'm off, like a racehorse.
Yeah, that's the thing about us, too.
Yeah,
We talk about random things a lot.
So I was thinking about it. It's like, so when I go on like my long road trips, as you guys know, I always go with my friend Randy, and that's the awesome thing about the documentaries I do when I'm on those road trips. When I'm with people that I'm good friends with, and you and Randy are probably the only two that really qualify. So take that as you wish. But that's when I'm just me, That's when I'm the most me, and I just talk. And I could talk about, I talk about everything, quite frankly. So that's why I think this is a good channel for a lot of my thoughts and a lot of yours too. Because I don't know all your thoughts, Karsen.
That's right. Sometimes when we're together in person, we don't have time, and we just got to move. Because another thing we'll get into is how when we're filming, sometimes I'm a very fast filmer, and sometimes.
Oh, I know.
And so. I like your road trip documentaries. I've been invited before slightly, but I've never been officially a part of it yet.
It's hard to request off like 12 days off work in a row.
It is, yes. So, and yeah. But I do enjoy them. I always watch them from beginning to end, even though they end up being like an hour and a half long, or yeah.
More than that. You got to break them up.
2 hours maybe.
The San Francisco, I think, was borderline 5.
5 hours?
4.
4 hours?
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Dang.
3 hours, something like that. But I break them up into days for everyone's convenience.
Yep, and you have the chapter cards, I believe, right?
I do.
Yep, that always helps. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the last ride, our history with working with each other, and then we're going to get into some deep things towards the end. And our working title of this podcast so far is...
After Hours.
After Hours. Brandon just came up with that like 5 minutes ago.
Well, it's quite simple. I was just texting Karsen yesterday because yesterday's really the only day of planning we really put into this. And so I said, what's the plan? So I'm going to come in tomorrow. And then Karsen said something along the lines of like, yeah, since this isn't fully really 3RK related, it'll have to be After Hours. Yes. So today I was like, After Hours.
After Hours. That's right.
Until we think of something more creative.
Yep, we'll get more creative, and then we'll get more professional as we go on.
Speaking of which, let's just clarify, too, that we're working with one microphone.
One microphone, bro. We're basically kissing each other almost. Like 2 minutes ago, I was like, oh, I guess I should have a drink nearby just in case. I should also have notes in a notebook or something, and I don't have that either.
Who uses notes in a podcast?
I don't know. I've never done a podcast before. Actually, I've been a guest on one for work, 3RK related. I was also thinking of setting a timer too, but I don't know. I don't think we're worried about runtime. So.
Maybe with me talking, that's not a bad idea. But we'll see. This is a lot of trial and error for day one.
Let's do this. Let's do this thing.
I also want to point out at some point in this episode we are going to talk about Squid Game.
Absolutely,
okay?
Absolutely.
And it's safe to say we're gonna have to say there will be spoilers.
Yes, spoilers for every movie piece of content that we talk about. So
that's later.
Yes, we will give another warning as we talk about that certain thing. Okay, so this is episode 1 of Karsen and Brandon After Hours.
So, what we should start with?
Yes.
We should start with, you began to tell me a story, and it had to do with our last video we just made, The Last Ride, which has been surging in views over the weekend, 4th of July weekend. So we appreciate everybody that's, sharing that.
Yeah.
But you began telling me a story, and about 2 sentences in, you said, this is probably something I should say for the podcast.
There was like 4 things I started talking about right before we started recording, and I was like, you know what? I should just save this for the podcast. So the first one was I was working here this past Saturday, and I was on my break, and our events coordinator was also working with us that day. She had to fill in the bar area. Ronnie, who we all know pretty much, she was sitting at her desk, and I decided that I was just going to take a seat on Daryl's desk, and we were going to talk for a little bit. We were going to talk, like, Carts in the Dark, stuff like that, and just relax, because it was our downtime for a pretty busy Saturday. And then she randomly came out with the question. She was like, so what was the last ride? Like, what part of that was the last ride? And I've been thinking about this to myself recently.
Should we say spoiler alerts for the last ride?
Yes.
So you should watch that first before you
Yes.
go any further.
Watch that. And if you haven't seen the first movie, which was a Super Bowl commercial, which has the working title. A lot of people don't know this, but you could see it in the credits at the end of our 2024 Super Bowl commercial. That little short was named Black 5. So the first one is Black 5, and then the sequel, which came out this past month,
I never knew this.
is The Last Ride.
I'm just now learning this
I
myself.
never made it a big deal because it was just like a working title that just popped up in the end. It took me 2 seconds to...
Any reason?
It was a... It was a rumored Michael Bay movie that he was gonna make a couple years ago. That was gonna be turned into a PlayStation 5 game afterwards. It was like kind of like a Black Hawk Down type of thing, military. It was called Black 5, and it was like announced and everything. He was gonna do it with Sony, and it never happened. He just went off and did another movie. So I mean, I think it's rumored that it's still possibly gonna happen, but I mean, there's no development. So I hurried up and snatched it. I don't know if there's copyright or anything. But I mean,
if you don't know Karsen, he draws a lot of his inspiration from Michael Bay films. So
yes, the whole Last Ride film series.
I've had people, I watched it with people just from the font. They're like, they even got the Michael Bay font, and I'm like, Karsen did.
Yep.
But it's still though, you nailed it though.
Thank you. Yeah. So, where were we? Because I'll get into Michael Bay here in a second. The Ronnie story.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was like, what was the last ride? Was it we were saying goodbye to Spider-Man? What was it? So I turned to her. I was like, you know what? I'm so happy you asked that because I haven't been able to really talk out loud about the last ride in like an interview style. But the thing about the last ride is something that was completely different than anything I've ever done here. Is I'm not a storyboard kind of guy, and neither is Michael Bay. I'm also not... Craig will tell you this, because this is, like, very frustrating to Craig. I sometimes film without a script. My script is all in my head. And it's mostly the imagery, not really the dialogue that's really thought of. So sometimes a lot of our lines are ad-libbed. I throw shit at our actors and stuff like that. And
as someone that's been acting in almost all your videos, I can confirm that it's extremely true.
But it's harder for some people because Brandon Lambert, Anthony Capp, they're also very good improvisers. And I'll just give them a line and they'll take it. They'll turn it into something a little better, maybe a little longer, simpler, and we'll go with it. I'm like, perfect. But like people like Craig, other people, they have to know what they're saying, because then they're also going to screw it up a million times and be bland and stuff like that. So again, Craig does not like my fast moving Michael Bay, like I'm going to get this shot, this shot, this shot. But The Last Ride had a full 4-page complete script from screenwriters that are my friends, and I also had a say in it too. And we went off of that, and I would say it was fine because the whole movie was still in my head. So I kind of went off of that. There were parts of the script that had to be sketched out, which I'll get into. There was a whole section that was removed, and I had to rework the story to make it simpler. But this was the very first one that we actually worked on a long, lengthy script. So as you're going through the scripting phase, you're looking at this and you think to yourself, like, okay, this is the last ride. So what does this all mean? And even when you film it and you put it in the editing room, you still look at it and it's like, okay, it's different from the script a little bit now that it exists in front of me. So it's like, now, what is the movie? What is this? So now that it's out... I just checked my phone during a podcast. That's probably very... Yep, that's very...
I've been doing it, too. You just got to make sure you...
Yeah, my phone's very far away. Yeah. Okay. So...
it's day one.
It's day one, yep. We're not pros yet. So I told Ronnie. it was a goodbye to Spider-Man, because Spider-Man has been a big part in my career run here, because that was kind of like the beginning point of when our social media started to blow up. People always bring that up when they come in. Our friends from K1 that's in Ohio, we're really good friends with the owner. They'll come in and visit us, talk to Craig and I, and the first thing he said when I first met him was like he loved the Spider-Man videos. And then Spider-Man took a break. I haven't done it in 3 years, and people would always ask like, is Spider-Man coming back? Something like that. And I never really thought, but then we worked it into the story, maybe one last time for him to come back. And that is technically Spider-Man's last ride when he's jumping into the go-kart going down the straightaway. That is his last ride.
Very emotional scene for many people.
Yeah, because we kind of reworked it to where it's not only goodbye to Spider-Man, but it's also wrapping up a lot of the 3RK videos, an end of an era. We also reference and make cameos and Easter eggs to past 3RK videos. But then if you go back to the first act, when Craig is in the conference room with everyone, he says one last ride. And when you think about it, I've thought about this. The first movie was just kind of like a fun chase scene. If Brandon Lambert gets away with the trophy, darn, that sucks because he stole it, but it's not the end of the world. This was the end of the world.
Yes, it was.
If they failed, they were going to die. So it was, the stakes were bigger. It was all or nothing. So it was technically one last ride for everybody else. Spoilers, of course. It was also the last ride for many of the employees, because we hint in the conference room scene that Midnight, I guess, unalived a lot of people when they said missing or deactivated or whatever.
We watched JoJo disappear into thin air.
And then JoJo was the on-screen kill, which I also told Ronnie that Ronnie was very like on my ass about this, because she was convinced that I was Midnight, and I didn't want anyone to know that. And
nobody else knew that you were.
Nope, only you and Lexi.
You didn't think they were gonna like piece it together?
No, because it was so frustrating, because I was barely in the Midnight suit. For the most of the first shots were Bryce, who works at 3RK, and then the rest you could tell, if you go back and watch, you can tell the different body types. And most of the time it was Brandon Lambert. And the only time I was in the Midnight suit was the fight scene, and that was it.
Well, even some of the fight scene, I was in there too, though.
Yes, if you go rewatch it, you could tell if there's a bigger, fatter head, that's me. If there's someone wearing like shorts and socks,
yeah, you could see his socks under the. It drove me a little crazy.
The socks shot was Bryce. We filmed those in the wintertime, so it was actually cold out there, to believe it or not. So it was freezing in those suits. And then here comes Brandon filming in May and June, sweating. You could tell it's Brandon because he has the skinnier face, he has the longer face, and he has the same exact body type as the green person. So
I am the OG Green Man.
That was so frustrating how she like immediately like assumed that was me, even though it wasn't me at all half the time, especially in any of the trailers. My shots as Midnight were not in any of the marketing material.
Well, I think going like logically though, that's probably how most people would have do. Like if you would have asked everybody that worked here, like who's your guess of who's in the Midnight suit, I think most of them are probably gonna say, is it Karsen?
You know what?
So
the way Midnight originated.
How did he originate?
So, do you remember? Was I in the first movie? Every 3RK employee.
You were on the screen when I ran by and said, "Shut up, Karsen."
Yep, so, and that was it.
That's it.
The goal of the first movie was to make a fun video where every single 3RK employee that was working here at that time made it a brief cameo, even if it was a split second. And we had like over 20-some employees. Everyone was there in person. Except for one guy who kind of just worked here naturally, but he made a cameo through his voice over a walkie or something. But I was only in the video in video form on the screen. 2 reasons. I wanted to like put the spotlight on everyone else because I'm always in front of the camera. Also,
you're the director. I mean,
yeah. Also, I learned that like I've watched videos on like Mel Gibson and stuff like that talking about this. It is a whole other animal being the director and being in front of the camera, because you kind of have to act, and then you kind of have to be like insecure and look at the guy who's taking over the camera for you, and you're just like, was that okay? Because you can't see what you're doing. And it was very hard to do this on this second one, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to give everyone else a spotlight and stuff like that. Well, that kind of spun into its own thing. Like, yeah, I made a big deal about everyone being in it, but technically I was not in it. So what was I doing? And then my friends writing the script for the second one were like, you know what, let's work with that. So it was like, where was Karsen during all this? And then they had the idea of a villain in mind, and that's when we combined it and was like, let's make it Karsen. Let's write a story where he was creeping around while the events of the first movie were happening. We just didn't know it. But then they were like, well, why did Karsen turn this way? Then we went back into the 3RK timeline. There was that Free Guy video we did where I died.
Probably our best video of all time.
Yes, it was. That was a very good one. Where I disappeared. And it just so happened to be a coincidence that we already had the storylines of people getting deleted and disappearing from the sword.
Oh, yeah.
We went back to that video and they were like, you fade away just like how we're going to have people fade away in this. So then that just, it clicked. They were like, this Karsen disappears, becomes corrupt, comes back, and wants revenge because in the end of that first video, Brandon won the trophies and everything because he crossed the finish line. And then now we would say, okay, now Karsen comes back. Brandon, for some reason, is stealing the trophies, causing all this commotion. And that spins out into like it fuels the very corrupt character that is Midnight, which is me. And Midnight is a kind of like it's an over-exaggerated social commentary on like a corrupt content creator.
It's an interesting concept because I was wondering, because in your little rant, when you said, what was the line you said? Let's recap.
Yeah, let's recap.
And you said, you came back and you were like, I gave Brandon all this stuff, and then I found out he became a thief. So it kind of like, for a moment there, I was like, wait, so are you playing into like it's almost like you're not the villain. You're trying to stop me, who seemed like the villain, even though I ended up being the quote unquote hero, and you were the villain. It's weird.
Yeah, you kind of
flip flop,
You for a split second, you kind of saw where he was coming from. But again, he wanted to kill everybody. So that's kind of like exaggerated. But if I just came back and I was just grumpy and I didn't have this evil plan and I was just mad at you, that would be more realistic. Because I freaking sacrificed myself for you. And then you're just running around like an idiot, stealing the trophy anyway.
So if I didn't steal these trophies, I mean, none of this would have happened is what we're getting at.
You know what? That's a good question, actually. If the events of the first movie never happened, I don't know. I feel like that's a very good question, because would Midnight still come back evil, or would he just... I don't know. The way I saw it was Midnight Karsen was a little fucked up in the head. So
because we kind of went out on good terms, He shook hands and you're like, go do it for me.
That's a thing, too. But that's what I like about it, because, like, in that first video, I was clean-shaved, baby-faced, and then my hair was nice and clean, even though I was wearing a head sock. And then I come back, I have the scruff, my hair is all disheveled. So I don't know. Again, it was kind of a joke that, like, the line where he was like, and somehow I came back to life. In the script, the line was, and somehow, due to lazy writing, I came back to life somehow.
Oh, you should have put that in there.
I should have, but for time and the edit. But, yeah, we don't really know where Midnight went. Like, I think there was a line where it was like, I sure didn't go to heaven, and I think I was in hell or something like that. But, like, yeah, I don't know where Midnight went that got him corrupted.
Well, he did say that he was, Dr. Chicane said he was, did he say he was a client of his?
Yes. So the idea of that was, so it wasn't very, like, diluted to in the film, but Dr. Chicane was kind of the one who invented that powerful sword.
See, I don't know, like, any of the Dr. Chicane backstory.
So, yeah. So, Dr. Chicane, I guess met Midnight, gave him the sword, and then it was Dr. Chicane's goal, or no, it was Midnight's motivation to then get the 3 trophies. Kind of like, that's our MacGuffin of the movie. The Infinity Stones come together to create a doomsday key or machine, and then we go from there. But, so Dr. Chicane... Dr. Chicane wasn't supposed to be in this, actually. Anthony was just going to play like a goofy-ass character who was on vacation.
I'm glad he was. Anthony might have been my favorite character in the whole thing.
We were kind of like not on the same page. He was like, what do you mean this is not going to be Dr. Chicane? I was like, it was never intended to be. But I was like, but if you want to, fine. Dr. Chicane is a character that Anthony came up with himself last year for Karts in the Dark, because it was his first year working here when we did Karts in the Dark, and he came up. He had this mad scientist outfit from what he dressed up as years ago for Halloween, and he was like, "I want to be a mad scientist." I was like, "Perfect. We don't have that yet in Karts in the Dark. I mean, we're always expanding the character catalog." And he came into my office one day. He's like, "I got this name, Dr. Chicane. He's going to have an accent. He's going to be crazy." I was like, perfect. We didn't have any lists of names. He came in, he was like, Dr. Chicane. And I was like, perfect. So we used him in marketing materials. He was the welcoming video. If you came to Trunk or Treat last year and the groups of kids that came in, he played on the screen. Everyone gathered around. He went over the rules and everything. So he's the face of Trunk or Treat, really. He's not very scary. He's just a goofy, mad scientist guy.
And an alcoholic.
We learned in the last ride, yes, the non-rated G version of Dr. Chicane is an alcoholic. You will not see him as an alcoholic at Trunk or Treat, because that is a family-oriented film. The last ride is unofficially rated PG-13, I feel.
That's accurate. I think that's fair. Yeah.
So, yep, he came back as Dr. Chicane on vacation. We worked it in. He was always going to be at a bar in the beach and stuff like that, because I filmed parts of the last ride in the Outer Banks, those beach scenes, which is my screensaver here and my monitor in front of us. Those are real shots that I got last year, and I didn't know it was going to be for the last ride, but I knew when I was filming it that I was going to use it for something like this. So, yep, Dr. Chicane was there as an anti-hero, really. Kind of just a comic relief.
He sold it really well, too, because I came in today, and he was working, and I saw him, and I was like, oh, my gosh, Anthony, you're back from the beach. And I'm like, wait, never mind. But no, I haven't seen him since.
And what did he say to you as he was leaving?
Brandon, my green machine.
I wish I was there for that, man.
It was great. It was golden.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, the first movie came out right before Anthony came back, and Anthony and I were still good friends, but I didn't know he was going to come back at the time. So when word came out that we were going to do a sequel his second year, I was like, one of the first things, Anthony has to make a cameo in this one. And I asked him, it was during Karts in the Dark, we were on break together, and we were eating in the break room, and the building was all dark, because we had all the lights out for Karts in the Dark. And I was like, I'm really thinking about doing this sequel, and we're going to start pretty soon, because back then it was going to come out for the Super Bowl. There was no way we were going to have this done for the Super Bowl with the...
Well, I got a little 3RK last ride story I'll tell after.
Okay, go ahead. Or I guess I'll finish this.
Yeah, when you're done, yeah.
But yeah, I told him while he was eating, I was like, I'm going to do the sequel. I want you to be in it, like you have to. And he goes, I would love to. And then that was it. I'm like, okay, immediately start writing this guy in. I don't know if he was supposed to originally be as big as he did, but I think he was such a standout performance, he kind of became like the secondary character.
Oh, yes.
So yeah. So we went through Midnight, Dr. Chicane, all of that, so...
And then Sean come back for one day was a cool time.
That's right. Sean came back as the cowboy, which of course is a reference to the Spider-Man and Cowboy Super Bowl commercial that we did in 2022. That was the second time my Spider-Man showed up. But again, tying it back, my first time being Spider-Man on screen for Three Rivers Karting, it was a video with Gabby, and we were friends in the video. That was when Ben Fitchell showed up in the Chargers as Electro. So again, that ties in. She would be the one to bring me in because in like the 3RK lore, she's the one who is technically friends with me, so she would be the one to open up the portal.
She was kind of hesitant to get drawn back into it, wasn't she?
Gabby is very difficult because she does not like being on camera at all.
For having no lines at all, though, I think she did great.
She did great. There was a goodbye scene where before I ran down to the portal or the go-kart to drive into the portal, and before Jelly Roll started playing, I was gonna say goodbye to her and Craig. But we just ran out of time. It had to be cut, and oh well, what are you gonna do? But at least those two characters got to be together one last time. So
fitting.
Yeah, and then as far as cameos go, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, there were a lot. There was Dominic Mecchia. He works in the movies for real. His latest project is he worked on the James Gunn Superman movie. He's the owner of the purple Dodge that JoJo drives. That is not JoJo's car.
I never knew whose car that was. So.
Yeah, you've never met him, but he also he's also a producer on these just because he helps out a lot. But he makes a cameo. He's one of the deceased deactivated pictures. I picked a goofy picture of him that I have in my phone.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
It's a split second blink and you miss it, but he's on there, and then the rest are just 3RK staff members. But that's as far as cameos go. That's pretty much it. Everyone else are returning characters from the first movie. Of course, I know a lot of people mentioned that the first one had everyone in it, and the second one, clearly a lot of people got benched. There were people who were killed off screen, and then there were people who were just not mentioned. So, Tommy made a cameo. There, she was shooting the finger.
Yeah, no, it was a lot more like story driven though. You know, like the purpose was different.
Yes, and it was a different... I feel like what we did that I felt was a little special is we didn't make a sequel and just rehash and just do the same thing. If it was just another chase scene where you try to steal the trophy, you get caught, and you don't have the trophy in the end, that would just be doing the same thing. This is more of like a... First one was a chase scene. This one started out as more of a mystery because we're all in the conference room trying to figure out why everyone's disappearing. And it's more of a story-driven thing. It's a lot of exposition. It's a lot of setup.
I tell you, Lexi turning heel caught me off guard a little bit. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, that was also a last-minute decision. Midnight was going to be just on his own, but I was driving home one night, and we were like halfway through filming this, and I immediately changed it up. I was like, you know what? It would be a cool twist if we did this scene where I like revealed myself. I did exposition, like an obvious, shameless exposition dump, and I had Lexi like be the corner. And also kind of like, before you think it's me, you kind of get the suspicion that it's Lexi doing all of it because her acting was so good. You left the room.
Oh, she sold it. Mm-hmm.
She dropped her smile.
Mm-hmm.
She looked ominous. The color grading where it's like a yellow, it looks gross, kind of.
Yeah.
That whole scene. And yeah, you kind of get this, you're like, holy shit, is it fucking Lexi? But then I come out but then you also immediately get hints that Lexi doesn't like Midnight because she seems annoyed with him and stuff like that. So the idea for her was always that she was going to turn. So, but yeah, that was another like kind of like last minute change, I would say, but it worked out and people liked it. So, and the third act, a lot of people don't know this, but most of the third act for the last ride was filmed the night before it came out. Brandon getting hit by the beach balls, that was Brandon in the Midnight suit.
There's a couple scenes in the fight scene where I'm basically fighting myself.
Yep.
In a way, you know.
Yep. But, and I know a lot of people have brought this up. This was supposed to be a joke, but I didn't really hit it that much on the head. But I kind of stopped caring when it got to the end because if you look at Spider-Man, the original idea was Midnight was going to be Scruffy Karsen because he's the evil one.
Yes.
Spider-Man comes through the portal. He's cleanly shaved, just like how he was in the old videos. But Spider-Man constantly flip-flops to shaved, non-shaved, shaved. And I did it as a joke because a lot of these movies kind of like make fun of the continuity errors and stuff like that. But I don't think I really like amplified it as enough because there was going to be a line where it was like I jump into frame and I start saying something to Brandon and I was going to say something like, wait, didn't I just have a beard a second ago or something? But again, if with every movie there's a cutting room floor and you got to make, this was already hitting 20 minutes long. So, but yeah, I'm very well aware that I go from shave to shave. There's a lot of
scenes with me on the phone where I get the mask on and then off and on.
See, that if this was like a more serious film, like if this was a serious drama, I would have not done that because that would have been like, that's just bad. But I think it's funny. When I showed Anthony the first final cut of Dr. Chicane, when Dr. Chicane's looking up at the sky, he walks out, he's on the phone.
So one of the coworkers I showed asked me, they're like, why is he always on the phone?
Anthony goes, oh, I'm on the phone? That's weird. I thought the conversation ended like 2 scenes ago. He looks up, he takes his goggles off, he's not on the phone. And then he goes, Midnight. And he cuts back, he's on the phone. And I showed that to him, and we laughed our asses off at that. Because I was like, it makes zero sense. But don't forget, this is a Michael Bay movie. And Michael Bay has these outlandish errors that you just look and you're like, wow, this man did not give a fuck. Another thing, too. I don't know if you've seen this movie before, but one of the very strongly hated Michael Bay movies is his last Transformers movie, Transformers: The Last Night.
All the ones after the first one I hated. That's just me, though.
But number 5 was on a new level of lazy that I've never seen. I saw that movie opening night with my friends, and I loved it just at the fact I was like, this movie needs to be studied. And I went to school for this, and we actually did study this film on what not to do. And this is a very small gripe. There's a lot of gripes with Transformers The Last Night. But what Transformers The Last Night does in the third act, it introduces a big catalog of characters, but in the third fight, a lot of them just disappear and have nothing to do with the fight. And we're just like, what the fuck? I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the third act of The Last Ride, this is a world-ending event. What were Craig and Daryl doing the whole time? Daryl made one little brief...
Daryl kind of called everyone in, and then he was gone.
Yes, but that kind of worked as a little cameo, because that's kind of his thing. He's the guy in the chair, as they say in Spider-Man.
The guy in the chair.
But it would have been nice to have him get out of the office and fight with his... But have you noticed, Craig was supposed to be a bigger part, but we ran out of time. The last shot of Craig in the movie is when they roll out in their cars. It's a shot of him driving in his car. And then he doesn't show up until the end credits scene.
I was wondering, and that's when Sean yelled at him too.
That's another thing too. Yeah, and that's another thing too. Sean just did his cameo. He sped off, and that was it. He was never to be seen again. And if it was any other project, I would have been like, oh, that is so lazy. Like, what the fuck? But I remember that is so Michael Bay. Because honestly, if you could just get people talking after it ended, like, what the fuck? Where was Craig and all them? And I just think it's funny. Like, maybe Craig was just chilling out. Like, what was he doing the whole time? Like, the world was ending, man.
He does come on the walkie one last time. Says, we got to do this.
That's
for JoJo.
true. That's the last we actually hear of him. The last time we see him is driving, and then we hear him on the walkie, which Lexi brought up the other night. She thought it was so funny how, like, Craig was like, we got to do this for JoJo. Like, he really makes a stand, and then he doesn't do jack shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe he was like, he was evacuating or something. Maybe he was saying his goodbyes to his family.
I was wondering when he, took off in his car, and I'm like, where's he off to?
I wish I could tell you that too, man.
Off to hunt me down or something.
It was literally just well, there was a shot where in the original script you were gonna have there was gonna be a tracker that Gia shoots on midnight, and we were gonna take this movie to downtown Pittsburgh, and we were gonna have it where they were tracking him, they were gonna stop him, but Midnight caught on to the tracking and he ditched the tracker, and they pick it up and they're like, oh shit, where is Midnight? And we were gonna cut to Midnight into 3RK, but again, it didn't work out that way, so we just kind of had JoJo and Craig drive out somewhere to go find Midnight, realize they can't find him, and then they end up back at 3RK. But so that was kind of like a weird filler scene, I would say. But yeah. But again, I mean, I'm sure to a lot of people that'll like bother them. But again, they got to realize that what this franchise is at this point is it's a love letter to Michael Bay, where I could just go full on my style that is heavily Michael Bay inspired, but then you could also have fun with it and not give a shit and kind of make it intentionally bad. So,
well, if you came into the video thinking like this is going to be totally 100% serious, maybe a couple jokes here and there, but everything's going to make perfect sense, then I don't know what you thought you were getting into. But
there were times where I was like, wait a minute, we're taking this way too seriously. And then I was like, we got to write a few jokes in here. So, but it worked out. Yeah, it's definitely no. And another thing too, the marketing, the TV spots, all serious. And I thought that was so hilarious because that's how Michael Bay's Transformers movies were always like. If you watch the Super Bowl teaser that came out for Transformers 2, it looked like a horror movie. Like, it looked scary. Like, shit was getting real. But if you watch that movie and you witness what you see, the little robot humping Megan Fox's leg, the mom getting high on pop brownies, Devastator having 2 wrecking balls between his legs. Revenge of the Fallen is like the most unserious movie ever, which I was like, that's perfect because that's The Last Ride. I was going to say something on social media. I was like, don't let these trailers fool you. This is the most unserious thing you're going to see, but it did have its moments, I would say.
Of course.
So, yeah.
We see some of my story. It's not even really much of a story. It's just kind of it's an explanation almost. You know, you keep talking about it was somewhat rushed, a little bit rushed and kind of off schedule. I'm going to take most of the blame for that because there was that one time I think a week before the Super Bowl, had this all planned out. He already had like a trailer
Yep.
or two out.
Yep.
So I talked to Karsen a couple times. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come down there this Monday. We'll get some filming done. I had some work stuff come up and just kind of things in life. I never showed up. I never showed up. I never texted Karsen like, oh, we got to reschedule. But like also Karsen didn't really reach out and be like, hey, you still coming? Like it just kind of, it just kind of bleh. And then when was it? Maybe a month after, because I thought a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh, the Super Bowl is like next week, and I figured that was kind of the due date here. So I guess maybe it's just a no-go. But I never kind of, reached out more like, hey. But like, what, 2 months later? I think it was like before it was when because I was gonna come and do the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I messaged you, asked you about the league, and then that's when I was like, maybe I should ask him. I'll be like, Karsen, were there plans to finish this filming, or did that kind of die with me? And then but then he was like, I mean, if you want to film it, we can still do it. And I was like, oh, okay, sweet. Yeah. So it was only a month or two off schedule, but eventually kind of So if I would have known how tight the schedule was, or if I would have just stuck to my word, maybe there would have been more time to implement some more work into it. But then again, that might have taken some of the unserious charm out of it, like you said. And it reminds me of one funny thing. I showed it to my coworker. Mm-hmm. I've showed 2 of them so far. I only have 4 coworkers, so it's not, But so one of them was watching. He hasn't really watched the previous videos, only the videos like I've shown him, which is not much. Mm-hmm. I don't work with him much. He's like a once or twice a week guy. But he was ecstatic to see this though, because he saw my post, and everyone that works with me is like, it's kind of an ongoing joke. We're in a fantasy football league, all right? Mm-hmm. And this guy really goes overboard with it. And he's probably gonna laugh when he hears this, if he listens to this. But I'll make him listen to it. But he takes like a screenshot of just the most embarrassing photos he can of me, mostly in particular when I'm in the green suit. And each week during fantasy football, he'll change his profile picture of his fantasy team to something embarrassing of the other person. So for me, it was a green suit. Everybody else had their own thing. But he already told me this year, every week, whoever he's playing, it's going to be something involving me with the green suit. And then he said, as he watched the video, too, because we watched it while I was at work, because why not, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, when Dr. Chicane came on, his jaw dropped, and he looked at me. He was like, I know my team name. And I was like, the Green Machines. And he was like, the Green Machines.
Oh, that's great, man.
So I look forward to that.
We'll make sure Anthony hears that, because that was an improvised line from Anthony.
Oh, I loved it.
Yep.
But so the same guy he's watching, like I said, he hasn't seen any of the previous videos, really, not many of them. He's not exactly familiar with your, love for Michael Bay, mm-hmm. or, your passion for the Marvel. Is it Marvel and DC, or are you just a Marvel guy?
I was always just a Marvel guy, but as of recently, not too thrilled. It's not, like, the only Marvel aspect to it was Spider-Man. Everything else was Michael Bay, because a lot of Marvel movies don't really have a style to them. They're kind of just cookie-cutter studio copy and paste things. Michael Bay has a style that you could study.
Well, he wasn't familiar with the just your previous renditions of Spider-Man.
Right.
So when the scene came up, when you came out of the portal as Spider-Man, just the look of confusion on his face was just he's just like, and I paused it. I'm like, wait, I gotta explain this to him now.
Was he like that when we did the recap with Midnight?
Well, not so much, because Midnight was like a character of our creation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, there's some backstory to it, but like you just came out just. From his perspective, you just came out from a portal just as Spider-Man for literally no reason at all.
Yeah.
And he was like, what is going on here? And then I paused it, and I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me break it down to you before we continue.
Yeah.
Showed him the previous videos.
And that's what The Last Ride is also. It's a story about the 3RK videos. So, like, the whole thing was, like, he was going to bring all the videos together. We saw very quick flashbacks of videos, and they were going to collide. And then that was the thing about Dr. Chicane. When he said use the 3RK videos, the idea was someone ripping someone out of that 3RK video, which was Spider-Man, and coming in. He also says, fight Karsen with another Karsen. So, and that's what happened.
That's a good line. I like that line a lot for some reason.
Did you have an idea of where it was going? Well, I mean, you knew. But...
Yeah. I didn't know specifically which Karsen was coming out until we talked about the plot, and you're like, so Spider-Man's going to come back out? And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because it wouldn't, like, if it was just another random Karsen just dressed as normal, you would have just been like...
How would they know which Karsen it was?
Yeah, because then they would be like, wait, Karsen... Lexi was nervous that people weren't gonna people were gonna get confused. Like, okay, why is Karsen Spider-Man now? But he was also Midnight. But I mean, the week before it released, I kind of tried to repost the videos that were important. So like Wednesday was the Free Guy video. The week before that was the Forrest Gump one we did, just to establish that we made videos together in the past. But no Spider-Man ones really. But you kind of had to be a deep fan.
You had to follow some of the
Which is going back. I think I just crossed my 5-year anniversary this week working here as an intern. So it's half of a decade at this point of videos. So you have to go back. It's 5 years worth of videos come together. So
I still remember my first video as an employee and a non-employee. But my first one as an employee, I think you just I was just there, and I didn't even know you that well at the time, and you're like,
I remember it.
I happened to be there, and you were like, hey, do you want to
be
in the video?
You want to know what it was? Yeah. It was that goofy-ass video where it was about putting your phones away during the race. I sat in a go-kart, and we had Ben there, and he was trying to rip it out, and I was being difficult. We had you down the road, or down the lane, and you saw I was fighting with Ben, and you ran down to help him yank the phone out. You didn't see your face, but you could tell it was you.
You ever do that with a real customer? Rip their phone out of their hand because they're so incompetent?
No.
Usually, in my experience, back before, this place really took off, and I worked here, if they didn't listen, you kind of just sat there and you're like, all right, they gonna learn, and we'd find their shattered phone on the track.
It's pretty much the same thing, but now you really have to implement it hard just because you don't want that flying out. And...
It's like, listen, if you got your phone in your pocket and your pockets don't have zippers, your phone is as good as dead.
Yep, and then you just had that girl get hit with a phone on the Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood.
I did not know this.
I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it should be, but it's almost to the point where it's like a law. You get into like breaking laws, because I mean that thing could become a projectile and hurt someone or kill somebody. Cedar Point, they have cameras all on the lift hill. If you rip out your phone, they will stop that ride and they will come up and they will take the phone. If you do not give them the phone, they will take you off the ride and walk you down, which I think a lot of people are going to start doing everywhere else. I mean, Cedar Point, you have to go through metal detectors just to get on a ride now.
I did not know that.
Nothing in your pockets.
I have not been there in so long, I didn't even know of this.
Yep. So we'll see if Kennywood makes those changes. But, I mean, we do implement that as well. A lot of people don't get that. But, like, I mean, come on, man. Like, it's not worth losing a phone.
I mean, I wouldn't do it just because, like, the amount of stuff that I keep, my life is on my phone,
Yep.
I mean, and every time I drop my phone, which is all the time. Even today, actually. I dropped it when it's another story I got to tell. It was my drive up here. Oh. Anyways, but yeah, no, I lose my phone. I mean, it's game over. And, you give the people lockers even too, and, it's like, just put it in. What are you going to do? Text somebody while you're in the middle of the cart?
Exactly. Some people do like to pull out their phones and film. That is a big no-no. We will stop the race, and we will take that phone from you. But yeah, it's not worth it. It'll ruin your experience. Anywhere you go, anything you do, whether it's skydiving, riding a roller coaster, or doing go-karts, it will ruin your experience.
Now, what I was referring to is, it's not even much of a story, really. This has never happened to me before, all right? Karsen, you know this. A lot of you that know me know this, all right? Thunderstorms, my favorite thing in the world, all right? My favorite thing in the world, especially lightning. I love it. If there's a lightning storm, whatever I'm doing, if I'm at work, I'm clocking out, storm, I'm out, see ya. Yep. So I was leaving today. Now, when I have to drive up to Pittsburgh, and it starts storming really bad, that's the only time I'm like, all right, we got to do this. So I'm about to walk out of my house. Starts downpouring, crazy downpour. I mean, I'm talking the streets. In all my time living in Grove City, I've never seen the streets actually become like flooded. Yeah. Also want to send my prayers and condolences to Texas.
Yes, absolutely.
Some crazy stuff going on.
Yep.
But it was like that, and it didn't even rain that long. So, but it was crazy. So I run out to my car. As I'm running out to my car, I drop my phone. That's why I thought of this. I dropped it, and I was already like, because, I mean, this is the type of rain where if you have to take 2 extra steps, I mean, it's like I just got home from Kalahari. It was, I mean.
Wow.
So as I grab my phone, I run to my car. I'm not even joking with you. I'm guesstimating 15 feet away from me to my right, bolt of lightning, boom, just right there.
Really?
And I'm like, wow, that's insane. Not the first time I've been close to a strike, like the second time. I was like, that's crazy. So I'm opening the door to my car to get in. I'm not... 15 feet away again to my opposite side, boom, bolt of lightning.
Really?
I mean, like, it felt like they were within arm's reach.
Imagine if you died right there. We were so close to doing the podcast, and you died an hour before.
Listen, one bolt of lightning, maybe. I've heard stories.
But the fact that it was twice, like the gods were trying to get you.
Listen, I don't know if you've noticed, Carson. I'm sure you have. Mother Nature is on one this year. I don't know what the deal is. You got all these things happening in these other places, these horrible weather tragedies in western Pennsylvania, which is already unbelievably unpredictable with weather. But this year, it's just, I don't know, I don't know. I've never really seen weather like what I've seen this last year. It's insane.
Yeah. That's also a thing that had to do with the last ride, because the weather this past winter, the first movie, we got lucky. It was 50 degrees in the middle of February, and it was sunny. We got everything we needed. All of like half of January into February, it was below 0. It kept snowing. I wanted it to be sunny out, and it was cloudy every day. And I was like, we can't do the car stuff if it's icy and stuff like that. Plus, I don't want to film in the snow. My movies always filmed in the summertime, took place in the summertime. It just looks better. So it's not fun filming a movie where it's just gray and white everywhere. So that was another reason I was like, we'll have the spring and everything like that. But even when we filmed in May, the weather did not cooperate. We filmed a lot in downpours.
Now, I think the good thing, though, because it's the car crash scene that this really came into play, because that day, which I think was the first day of real filming.
Yes.
And it was raining, and it wasn't horrible rain. It was like enough to be a nuisance. Like the camera was kind of, we couldn't get the camera wet.
Camera always had to be covered.
So, but I think it worked out all right, because it's not like the other scenes weren't exactly beaming sunlight, and you can almost in that scene not really tell it's raining. You can tell it rained, but you can't tell it's really raining. And I texted you the other day about it as I was rewatching the video in the scene when I opened the door and I'm like reaching in. There's a blue guy who I still don't understand anything about that guy, but that's just another thing. he's like the most important irrelevant character in movie
He's
history.
very important, but yet he's just like,
there's just no answers or explanations for his existence. He just had a trophy and was critical to saving the world. So. But
oh my god!
As I'm reaching in the car, though, if you're filming from the inside the car, the rain on the window almost gave it like a shattered glass look. I don't know if you went back and looked at it, but it's almost like a shattered glass look. So
I did not notice that at first,
I didn't
or
either.
Through editing.
Right, but
until you said that,
it worked out too, because it's like I didn't notice because I wasn't thinking about the weather or anything. But as I'm watching the scene, I'm like, why does it actually look like a car crash? Like something about it stands out, and I was like, oh, the window looks like it's broken. I didn't even notice. But that's actually rain droplets on there.
Also, another thing that was not planned. I guess I was the blue guy, by the way. I have a behind-the-scenes picture that I didn't post yet, but I was the blue guy. I guess like water droplets got on my eyes, and it dripped down on my one side. If you go back and look at this, under my eye, it's like wet and kind of looks like it's drooping. I'm wearing makeup and I'm crying. That also kind of played into the factor that guy was not in good shape.
I'm gonna have to watch. I didn't notice that part.
I noticed that right away when I was like, oh my god, I didn't, because I was wearing the suit. But it also gives you the whole atmosphere. When we do the low shots of Brandon, you see the water dripping. Mm-hmm. It's kind of it gives you a sense of dread and kind of misery, because some shit's going on. And it's also a sad scene. You got that music playing, and
Yeah, that poor blue guy that we had no emotional connection to whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not gonna make it, man, and everyone's probably just like,
Yeah.
who's not gonna make it? I don't know.
Yep. It's like I feel like you do feel a little something in that scene just because the sound design.
Yeah.
That was one of the scenes where it was like we edited that. Well, that was the first day of filming, as you said. So it was the first scene to be edited and put together. And I really feel like that was one of the not rushed scenes.
Oh yeah, no, we took our time.
And I really, yeah, like
We focused like the whole day on that like one scene.
that. It was the whole night on that one scene, and it was the most miserable conditions ever.
But it worked out.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite scenes, even though for a lot of people it does not make any sense.
Yeah. Only real regret is that we never got that good sunset. Like, Karsen was after it, and like I would have liked that too. But like,
Yeah.
it's the one day of filming where I'm still racing in the league, so I had to finish my race.
Yep.
And it was a beautiful sunset, and we wanted to get a scene out there and just.
Although, I mean, I guess our sunset is the Outer Banks shots, because those are absolutely amazing. But
So those are actually your shots, though.
those are my shots, yes.
Because some people I didn't know if it was like yours or just like some
Yep.
default. I found this on the internet somewhere.
No,
Yeah.
the shots of Hong Kong, yes, those
okay, yeah,
those were
okay,
not mine.
You didn't get the Pittsburgh shot yourself? No.
No. Well, I originally planned to get Pittsburgh shots, but ran out of time. But yeah, all the beach sunset scenes are all mine. So yeah.
Now I got a beautiful transition into Squid Game here. I don't know if you want to. We've been going for a while.
Well, I
already.
thought you were going that way because when we were talking about your first video,
That was the transition I was gonna make. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Your first video, your first official video. You weren't an employee yet, but it was
Mm-hmm.
the first time I filmed you. We did the Squid Game video from season 1 when Squid Game was like a phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the first one to die and everything.
I know. I don't remember how I got blessed with such a role because I mean, everybody was in this video. Like, people that were in the league. I think we were doing the league.
Yep, it was
but,
everyone in the
yeah,
league at that time.
And then you or Daryl was like, all right, everybody who wants to be a part of this video, and you had the whole box of Squid Game shirts.
Which are right up there.
Still have those,
them.
And then I don't even remember how it came about. Like, did I think somebody said like, who wants to die first? And I said, I'm dying first. Mm-hmm. And I did good. Now Dean, on the other hand, Dean, if you're watching this, you got to work on your dying skills, man. That was
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
he kind of.
I was like, wait,
like.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I thought Dean crossed the finish line, but no, you're right. He did not make it.
I think he was the one that came up to check on me. No, that was
I think Casey,
Case.
who's another league guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't just league guys. It was also most of our employees at the time jumped into.
Augie was in it.
Augie was in it. That's right. It was our entire fleet of carts on the track,
yes.
which does not happen often at all. So.
You can't get 24 carts on that track
Yep.
usually. So.
And I remember, a lot of people don't know this, but when we were done filming, Daryl was like, okay, give him a few laps. And I was like, holy shit, absolute chaos. Just hearing all the carts go at once.
Did they do it? I didn't even remember doing that.
Well, you went around like twice, and then he stopped it. I think I have footage somewhere in the archives. But just hearing all the carts go at once is a sound you have to hear to believe. Because it doesn't sound like a normal race because there's so many carts.
Oh, my gosh.
There are more than 20. And then you look around and there's just blue shirt or green bluish shirts just flying by everywhere. And it was like, holy shit, man. Like, enjoy this while it lasts because I don't think I've yet to see that since 2021. So
The concept was so good too. It's like red light, green light. We're in go-karts. I mean, that's
exactly.
perfect,
That was
you
Daryl's
know?
idea back in the day. So
Was it?
I mean, it was like he went all out clearly because he went out, he contacted an outside company to make us Squid Game shirts.
I could have got us jumpsuits, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. But and then he brought in a red hoodie because he was the guy doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good one. I mean, we kind of brought him back for season 2, but it was just to promote the Flash Pad game, and we made it like because red light, green light is a game on that pad that you can
is
play.
it?
So yeah, and then we used the one song that was trending for season 2, and it was just a little quick thing. But it was cool to bring out the shirts again. It was just Lexi and I doing it, just to do it real quick. We didn't do anything as of right now for season 3, but
Which might be good because some things are like you don't really need to.
yeah, you don't
build
have to
on
jump.
it, you
And
know?
again, now I feel like we're officially in Squid Game territory because here we go.
You want to start? All right, so clarification. We both watched and finished season 3.
Yes.
We've seen it all. Now, me and Karsen have had really no conversations about our thoughts after this.
Exactly.
I said we are saving this for the podcast.
Squid Game is a show that we really bonded over.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert for all of Squid Game.
Starting now.
All of Squid Game season 1, 2, 3.
If you haven't seen it, get out of here.
So after we filmed that first video, Brandon and I were always talking nonstop because the thing about me is I'm definitely more of a movie guy than TV. I tried watching Stranger Things years ago. I can't, I'll watch 2 episodes and I'll be like, okay, I'll take a break and I'll come back to it. And I will never go back again because I'll move on with my life. And I cannot sit and binge a show except for Squid Game.
They make it pretty easily bingeable, though. I mean,
yeah, they're
less
not
episodes.
Yeah, and if it's a really good episode, that hour will fly.
Oh yes.
But so I'm like, I need a beginning, middle, and end within hour, 2 hours. So there's a lot of great shows I know I'm missing out on, but I cannot start from scratch and watch things. But Squid Game also really intrigued me because it was all over the internet. And it was so weird because it looked scary because it was like you're in a country that we're not familiar with. And they were playing these child games that were like in this hellish place where it's like if you fuck up or lose, you will die. So I was like, okay, I'll look into it and watched it. And it was the first show in my life that it was like 3 a.m. I was busting through the episodes and I was like, okay, this is the last one. And then something happened at the end of that episode where it was like shocking or so heartbreaking. I was like, okay, I have to watch the next one and the next one. I've never felt that. I will never forget that night. It was the same night where I watched the Marble episode. That was absolutely brutal.
That one hit different.
And then I think the next, I can't remember season 1 that much, but after that, after the last 3 have the dinner together, I did not see the one guy killing the one girl.
They throw in some crazy twists.
That's how that episode ended, and that was when I was like, okay, I'm finishing this tonight. And then I did. And then we were back season 2. It was the same thing. And season 3.
I've heard that season 3 has not had as good of reviews. Not as because I think this was my take without getting into the specifics yet. I feel like sometimes people they really go and like they're looking for when they go into a final season because we knew it was going to be the final season, and they want something a little more concrete, like kind of some answers, or like a definitive, this happened, here's how it ends type. And I never really go in with that expectation. I've seen enough to know that you don't have to end a show or a movie like that. Yeah. So I knew what was. It's hard to say I knew what was coming, but I knew how it was going to come, if that makes sense. So I knew it was going to be very like indirect and kind of I wasn't going to get like a solid answer. I was going to be left in some mystery, which I absolutely was. I will say this. The final episode of Squid Game, season 3, was like the first time that I've ever watched like a show or a movie. It from the moment where it's like the final like 7 people, before they go into the final game, and then they do the vote, and it's like, okay, we're going to do the final game with these 7 people. They have their dinner. It's like the first time I've ever been watching a show or a movie where I'm like, I have not the slightest clue what is about to happen. And it had me like, I was like nervous. Yep. I was like, I actually don't know. I don't even have an idea of what might happen here. Yeah. And it just, the whole way through the episode, it was like that. Like they're up on the towers. This is where the spoilers are going to start. They're up on the towers and I'm just like, what?
How's he going to play this game with this baby in his hand?
It's like, obviously they've established he's got to go first. But then you also got the baby's dad up there. Yeah. And it's like, well, he's got to do something. And then he kind of does his whole routine where it's like, oh, let's get the attention off them. And like, hey, let's get this guy that's all cracked out on drugs. And I feel for that guy, too. That guy, his death kind of hit me, too. I cried about 10 times during the show. All right? Now, because I'm an emotional guy. So he kind of got me, too, because I can resonate with everybody. I'm a very empathetic person. So I feel what people feel. And he's having like the visions of the girl, and in that final moment where she's like, come with me, and he grabs her hand as he goes off the edge, I was like, oh my gosh, man, it just,
Mm-hmm.
And then but then I'm just gonna come out and ask you, Carson. Were you expecting? I'm just gonna refer to him as what's his number? 256. The main guy.
Yeah, 256.
Yeah, I don't even want to attempt to butcher their names.
Yeah.
So, but were you expecting him to just do what he did? Because I don't. All right, no, actually, let me ask you this. Let me ask you it this way. Were you like? Did you kind of sense what was coming when they're having their little showdown, right? And then they're both hanging off the edge, where it's like, okay, they made it seem like they both fell. I knew they were hanging.
Yeah.
But and then baby dad falls off, boom, dead. And then he crawls back up to the top of the tower, and then he looks and sees that he didn't push the button.
Rip.
And it's like, that is where it's like, oh, no.
I saw that coming. When they were fighting it out, I was immediately like, he's going to die. He didn't push the button, and it's going to be him and the baby, and then the game's going to start. I knew it was going to be those two, and then I guess I was still on edge, but I had a deep, deep thought. I was like, he's not going to throw the baby off.
No,
he's not gonna.
Yeah, there's no way that's.
He's come too far. He made the promise, and I was like, he's probably gonna. This is how he ends, and that's how it was. So
no, I did have that sneaking feeling because all the build up with like all the other storylines going on, like the game master's brother finally infiltrated the place. He's in there looking for him. So I had that fleeting thought in the back of my head.
Oh.
So I knew it probably wasn't gonna happen. I was like, maybe they're not gonna just let the main guy die. Yep. So. Brother guy's gonna come in, find his brother. Maybe his brother will have maybe his brother will have a. I feel like I'm going off in a lot of different directions here, but with like the game master, I thought the brother was gonna come in and do something to have an effect on the end. Or just bear with me here, Carson. I'm talking a lot here. I'm gonna get my thoughts out and then I'll listen to yours. The North Korean girl, the one that's one of the red guys.
Oh yeah.
And she's in the room, and she reads the document that her daughter is dead, and she's about to, click, about to end it.
Yes.
But she's watching the game, and then she sees the main guy when he throws himself off the edge, and she kind of, stops because she's so touched. I thought maybe she would have some kind of impact. Like, maybe she would barge in and do something, or maybe her and the brother at the same time. Like, something might happen.
Yeah.
And then he says the line, the main guy says the line, because I looked at the title of the episode. It's called Humans Are, ... And then he says the line, he says, we are not horses, we're humans. Humans are, ... And I'm like, he's jumping off the edge right now. Oh my God, it's actually happening. And halfway through the fall, I'm like refusing to accept this as my reality. Like he's like halfway off, and I'm like, someone's got to catch. Someone's got to catch him.
Like, something's gonna happen.
But with the game master though, this is what I really want to ask you about, Carson, because this is where my thoughts start to go crazy.
Okay.
There's the scene where he brings 256 up into the room as everyone's about to go to bed, right?
Yes.
And he says if you want to survive, take this knife, kill all of them. And so 256 goes back down. He walks up to the guy, and then it cuts to a flashback of the game master in that exact same situation when he was in the game, however long ago that was. And he's it shows, and he kills all of them. He does it. He actually does it. He kills all of them.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But that's why he's the game master. But as he's watching 256 not have the heart to do it, which we all knew was going to happen, he wasn't going to do it. Even though for a slight second I was like, would he? That's a pretty good way out of it. Not being with the baby, with those guys. When you're presented with a task of directly killing 7 people,
but then I was like,
I don't know.
That goes against everything the main character was working for.
And that's why he had the flashback of the other girl.
Once he said the flashback, I was like, he's not gonna do it.
But then it cuts to the game master watching him walk away, and it zooms in on his face. He has a moment of emotion. He starts to shed a tear, and that's when I started to really start questioning things. I'm like, is he having a change of heart? I thought the whole purpose of the entire show was the game master's view of humanity.
Yeah.
And how So I thought at that moment, I'm like, that's when I really started to question things. I'm like, is he gonna change? He's gonna have a change of heart. Is he gonna realize humans aren't bad? Is he gonna put a stop to the game as 256 is about to jump off? And after it all played out, he goes down and he looks at the main character, his dead body on the ground, and walks away, goes back up, gets the baby.
Yes.
His brother sees him and yells, "Why?" And that is hilarious to me too. There's a meme of his brother. It's like, you went through all this stuff to get to this island, everything, just to walk up, see your brother, yell "Why?" and then him just ignore you, and that's it. But but then he leaves with the baby, gives the baby to his brother, and I'm just left wondering, like, what is going on in the game master's head? Is his heart changed? Is he still the same? Is he, like, what's happening in his head? Mm-hmm. That's all I want to know. That's where I'm curious what your thoughts are, Karsen. That took a lot.
I know. I think kind of like Midnight.
Like Midnight, huh?
He's just one of those characters that's just so corrupt in the head. Maybe he felt a little bit, but again, I think he just went off in his own.
But Midnight didn't show a glimmer of, like,
no
relation.
I mean, Squid Game had like 18 hours worth of television to tell that.
This is fact.
The last ride had less than 18. But I mean, there's some villains that are just so fucked up in the head. Because you got to think, like, he was very strong on his belief about, like, we're doing this because these people are fighting for money.
He killed his friend right next to him.
Exactly.
It doesn't get much
did that.
more heartless than that.
He kept him alive on many occasions just to keep him suffering and shit like that. But I also thought, like, something was a little, like, fishy when they kept having him alive. And it was kind of like if the main character just, like, didn't he tried to kill himself?
I think there were two. Well, I remember there was one. It was after the hide and seek game. He finally killed the guy that he blamed for.
That's right. He put the knife.
And he's like, "It's my fault."
He tried to kill himself, and I feel like if it was anyone else, the guards would have just, because the lady hung herself in the thing in the middle of the night.
And that's as soon as they brought the casket into the room, I knew.
Yeah.
I said to myself, she killed
herself.
Even
then, but that was another jaw-dropping moment. I went out loud. I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me."
Can I just say, I want to throw this in there really quick.
Yeah.
Out of every character on Squid Game any season, the person I feel the worst for, there were some I had connections with. The baby mama, 222, I believe her number was.
Yeah.
She was my favorite, okay? Because I felt with her emotionally. But the character I felt the worst for is the old lady. She didn't deserve any of the shit that she went through.
A lot of them just wanted to go home, man.
She didn't want. She basically, not directly, she killed her son, and like all the stuff she had to go. She had the purest heart. Like she didn't deserve any of that. She delivered a baby in a game.
Yeah.
But Anyway, so.
And you got to think. I thought about this a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. I was like, her son. By the end, like, all of them were voting to go home.
Yes.
And they didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. And the fact that other team, that other side kept voting to stay, and then it just ended their life right there. They had to stay. She had to go through all that with her son, and then just to have that happen was just...
Man, they're part of, there's some of the ones that made me cry the most. Like when her son meets up with her... When she meets up with her son after they do, like, the game where they run into the rooms and the son gets split up from the mom.
Oh, yeah.
And then he sees her get after the game and he just loses it, starts crying because he felt so bad because, he could have lost it. Like, that might have been the most tear-jerking scene for me personally. Yep. But there was a lot. I don't remember where we were before I interjected.
We were talking about the front man.
The front man and his,
Yeah, I feel like he got through a little bit, but still, like... all that shit the front man did in his life, I don't think there's any change in him or phase in him.
Not enough to change the games. I mean, he's committed at that point.
Maybe he saw the main character not go through with the killing, and he had those flashbacks of him doing it, and then it made him feel like more of a terrible person.
Yeah, probably. And then, dude, I don't remember it super great. The ending of season 1, I don't remember in detail a lot of it, but the old man in the hospital, I still to this day don't understand that scene at all.
When he changed his hair red and...
No. Like the old man.
Oh, that pissed me off.
It did, but like I was just trying to understand it because they have the part where he's like, look out the window, and it's I don't even remember what's going on, but it was like a homeless person, and somebody came up to him and took something off him or whatever, and the old guy was like, see, humans are terrible, and then the old guy dies, and he looks out the window again, and the guy what he did was he took the dude's phone to call the cops, and the cops came and they helped the guy. And then 256 looked at the old guy like, "Aha, see, you're wrong," but the old guy's already dead. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand the perspective of like the old man. I'm like, what's he trying to say here? Is he just saying like people are screwed up and it's just enjoyable to see? Because it didn't seem like that.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like the kind of person that's like, I just like to watch people fuck each other. Like,
I don't know.
you know.
I think
I apologize for my wording there. That was.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think the one of the messages is, in a sea of like bad apples, be the ones that are always willing to help people.
Right.
So like the mother, the son, everyone who voted X to go home, because really they were just trying to survive, so they were helping each other. That other side would kill anyone at any moment to keep going. So I think it was about being the people that cared. So
it's just the part. All the messaging is like clear and all. It's just I want to put myself in the head of the old man and of the game master, and I just feel like no matter what I do, I'm just not gonna be able to do it.
There was a post I saw, I think last night. It was made from AI, which is something we're gonna touch on. But it said Squid Game as if it was a happy ending, and it showed the pink jumpsuit guys all getting arrested, the feds storming all the games. So you saw all the cops in the red light, green light room and everything. You saw the main character, the mom, the son, the girl who had the baby, the transgender.
The transgender was the most badass character in the entire show.
Yes.
Can we just... Yes.
Yes. That death scene also was very upsetting.
Oh, yeah.
But like it was showing them all getting out and being free. And I was like, wow, now that you think about it, this show really didn't have any happy endings, and they were all just gut-wrenching.
The only person that had like a remotely happy ending is the Game Master's brother, because it's like, hey, you got 47 trillion, won or whatever, but also here's a baby.
And then also the daughter, well, I mean, she knows her father's dead, but also the baby's not going to know any of this.
Yeah, when do you tell the baby?
The baby will never believe it, bro.
It's like, let me tell you how you were born.
Like, you were born in this awful situation. But I mean, the baby got to live and go on to her life.
I was surprised how the dad of the baby was going to turn on the baby like that. When he said, "I'm just trying to help you and help the baby," like, I thought he was a genuine. Like, I thought he was like, I do want to, because he still loves, he still loves the mom, even though she pretty much said like, to hell with you forever.
Yeah.
But I thought he was like, I still love her, I still want to take care of this baby. So when he turned on the baby, I was like, whoa, okay.
He was just saving the easiest opponent for last. Once he got rid of the guys, all he had to do was just toss that thing off, and then he won.
I mean, he almost, like, when he was holding the baby over the edge, he was like, he was breaking down. I don't know, would he have been able to do it? I don't know, man.
Well, if it came down to it, one of them would have to die, and I don't think he would be that kind of person to be like, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing and let the baby live.
Absolutely not.
I think he would have just sucked it up and tossed it.
If 256 wasn't a factor, if he would have just died, according to plan, maybe he would.
Yeah.
But now that's another part of the ending. I asked my brother this, and I guess the answers probably might be obvious, but to me it's not so obvious. It shows after they blow the place up, because of course they had a contingency plan.
Mm-hmm.
But he breaks into the apartment that the main character stashed his money in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He breaks in there, and it made it seem kind of secretive. I knew it was the game master doing it. I didn't know why at the time, but so he ends up bringing all the money to the main character's daughter and gives it to her. Do you think if he hadn't had that like moment where 256, the main guy, kind of like got to him emotionally, like with the not killing the people while they're sleeping, giving them flashbacks, and like sacrificing his life for the baby, like would he have done the same thing? Would he have found like the main character's money and given it to his daughter, or was that just like the tiny little goodness that the main character drew out of him was that, Do you think he still would have done that? And also, what would he have done with the baby and the money? Because the baby won the game no matter what.
Yeah. Honestly, I think he would have been happy if he did what he wanted to do, which was put an end to the games. And then
Right.
everything else could have been fair game. Maybe if he was just with his daughter, that would have been good enough for him. But I mean, the fact that did he really end the games? Did even that thread come to a close? I mean, he ended the South Korea version of Squid Game, but
But from like the game master's perspective, though, like, does he give? What do you think he does though? If he doesn't have those moments of being touched by what the main character did, like sacrificing his life, does he go out of his way to give all that money and the baby to his brother? Like, what would he have done differently?
oh,
Yeah, and like, would he have given that money, like the main character's original money, to his daughter? I don't think he does that if he doesn't have that moment of humanity.
so I'm trying to rethink. So he gave the daughter the remaining money that he had from season 1.
Yes, that's who he gave the main character's daughter.
And then
the
I
money
guess
to.
the reason being was
He also gave it to her in a box with the guy's jumpsuit bloodstained on it. I thought that was a little
bizarre.
cold,
Yeah,
but
because that's just gonna confuse. I mean,
Yeah,
if anything, that would just raise kind of.
she's gonna have no idea what it means. She's gonna open it up. It's just a bloody suit. It just says I've
Mm-hmm.
been saying 256. It's 456 the whole time. I just now remember.
If anything, that's evidence for the police.
It is
really,
evidence, but
They
I mean,
could
they
catch
blew the
on.
place up, and she's not gonna have any leads. She didn't ask the guy's name or anything because she's a kid.
Unless they got detectives in America and they wear the same suits.
She's like, here's the bloody jumpsuit with a random number on it that he claims is my father's, and then a card with just 48 billion. Like, okay,
And then he gave the baby to his brother,
And
but
then
the money came with the baby.
the winnings from the game, the baby won, the
Yeah.
baby's winnings technically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's what he gave
Which
to his
yeah
brother.
makes sense because you can't just plop the baby down next to the money. It's not going to survive like that. So his brother, I guess, was a trustworthy person to.
Well, I'm a big hypothetical guy, so I'm like, all right, what if at any point in those scenes, like when his brother's going through, like, they tried to kill him many times. If they did kill him and got to him and he was dead, like, what does the game master do with the baby? What does he do then?
I thought it was extremely cold when they were like, "Let's make the baby compete in the games. It'll make it more
I
interesting."
really thought they could have went a better direction with that. Like, not because I knew it would be something like that, but to me, it's like you said earlier about some of the Michael Bay films, like slightly lazy. It's just like, yeah, let's just like, yeah, baby's part of the games.
Really,
I just didn't.
I thought that made it seem like these people are monsters.
Yeah,
and
well, yes,
I was like,
yes.
how are they gonna get out of this now? Because those VIPs do not care.
The South Korean depiction of American people is it's not nearly as bad as season 1.
Oh yeah, season 1 was.
Oh my gosh, but see, and to be fair, they gave him accents this time. Like the one guy had like a British accent, so maybe they're just trying to be like, it's not just Americans
yeah,
we're making fun of.
they were kind of
Which is fair because we're fucked up people, and
yeah.
that's how they see. That's kind of funny thing about it. That's kind of how they see.
I didn't get offended. I was so sucked
don't-
into the story. I was like, wow, these people are terrible.
I don't get offended. It's just more of like I just get like. I mean, you could have just hired a real actor.
I'm sure someone got
Those
offended.
people had no.
There was a video. You say real actor. It came up in my YouTube feed the other day. I think it was a guy. I don't know if he was in all seasons, but he was in season 1, and it was titled "My Reaction to Bad Acting in the VIPs." And then the guy sitting there was the one actor, and he was responding to the comments about his bad acting.
Oh, the guy himself was watching.
It was. I don't know if it was his YouTube video, but he's sitting in a chair. He's not being interviewed, but the camera's like in an interview setup, and he was like, "Well, and he talks about his experience." It was late at night. I was watching, and I think I fell asleep a minute in because I was tired. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it's in my history. I can go back and watch it.
Is the guy from season 3, or one of the ones from season?
I think
1?
the video was older, so it just happened to come up. But he was from season 1.
Well, then that's different because that was just blatantly terrible. That
So,
was just atrocious.
I think he went on about like he was told to be exaggerated for it, and he
Right.
wanted to add more, but the director was like simply like, "There's just no time," and they just had to do it. So, I mean, he had a good acting record. I think he was just, I guess, he was told to be like that.
Tell him make it as just cringeworthy and terrible as you humanly
Which
can.
you can do.
But also like while making it still seem like you're being serious about the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Which it just. And then the woman in season 3, like it just, I don't like them.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to like them.
Nope,
Obviously.
you're not supposed to like them.
I don't. I dislike them, but for not the reasons they intended.
Yeah, there was no redeeming qualities to those characters.
They did put the one guy that's like kind of like an alcoholic, like a funny, like fucking party.
Yeah,
and
but
like,
still,
like,
I mean,
they tried, but it's still not.
No.
Just the way that they speak about the situation. It's like, oh look, it's number 456 on the ledge. I'm like, come on.
How'd you like that CGI baby and dog? I see
My God.
I see people roasting it.
Thank you for bringing it up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything about the show is perfect. Okay, I love it all. Even the horrible American actors, because that just adds to it. You know, that's how they intended it. This CGI, goddamn baby, dude. It sucks because it really almost took me out of the show.
It took me out of it a little bit.
It really did, because when you put a real baby in, and I understand there's a lot of situations and scenes you cannot put a real baby in there. It's a movie about people dying. I get that. Okay, I know.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna put a baby.
But the baby was real at the end. Did you see that?
I did. That made me even more upset.
Yes.
Because then I'm like, what? Okay, why now? Why are you doing it now? I know it says like a year later.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's baby's grown. I'm like, it just, for me to be, I'm pulled into a show when I'm emotionally drawn to it, when I'm emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And when it's a CGI ass baby, okay, not even a good one. It's like, I feel no emotional connection to this baby. If you throw this baby off the tower, I'm not gonna care.
They went the freaking
I don't feel it.
Twilight Zone, or not the Twilight Zone. They went the Twilight way, because there's a Twilight movie that's very famous for this. They first went with an animatronic baby, which looked god awful.
I'm sure, yes.
And then they redid it with a CGI baby, which still looked bad. But that was just a scene of her holding the baby.
That's the other thing. If you're gonna do the CGI baby, I get it. If you feel like you have no other option,
yeah,
I get it. But my problem is they showed the CGI baby way too much.
A lot, yeah.
I
mean, at that point, just hire a real baby.
It's like, yeah, if you're gonna show me the CGI baby that much, you're putting it in my face that this baby is not real. And you could honestly, in the main character, you could even kind of tell, like scenes where he like looks down at the baby, all concerned, like, oh, they're gonna try to kill it. And I look down, I'm like, I know he's not looking at a real baby.
No,
I don't care, and he don't care.
It's all covered up.
I know he don't care. Now, it's not nearly as awful as the dog.
The dog is straight out of the Grand Theft Auto game. It's the same dog and everything.
Grand Theft Auto 3.
3? Yeah.
I don't know. That's how bad it was.
I saw it side-by-side comparison. It's the same thing.
Now, obviously, that scene's not as, integral to the story, but holy...
It had to be cheaper to get real things.
They put so much into the show, so much effort, and like they did it so well. To just when I saw the dog, specifically when it's inside the house about to attack.
Oh yeah.
I literally sat there and I'm like, there's no way the people that produced this show saw this scene and said that looks fine. Let's publish. Like, there's no way.
They were like, cut away as fast as you can because
they didn't. And then they show like the dog was supposed to look real, dead with his tongue hanging out, and I'm like, okay, this might make me sad if I wasn't looking at a fake ass CGI dog that like 10 minutes earlier.
And they don't have the excuse, well, he snaps the neck. You can't do that at a real dog.
It was a gunshot, and they cut away from the scene when he shot the gun.
Wait, he didn't snap the neck?
No, he pulled the gun out. He like reached for the gun because he dropped it, and as the dog's on top of him, he pulls the gun. He finally grabs it, and he brings the gun over, points it at the dog, and then the scene cuts away to the outside of the building, and you hear the gunshot.
Oh, my bad. I'm thinking of The Hangover Part 3. Okay. When they sneak in, when Mr. Chow, they sedate the dogs, and then John Goodman's like, oh, you didn't hear Chow snap their necks on the way out. Which I think are the similar dogs, too. That was so weird. I rewatched that recently, and I got them confused.
I get it.
But even then, so yeah, you're not doing that to a real dog, so you don't have to be like, "Whoa, he can't shoot a real dog." Mm-hmm. It's like, but they cut away from it anyway.
Yeah, and like scenes of like dogs attacking people. There's plenty of movies and shows where there's scenes of dogs attacking people.
Yes, they're trained dogs.
Take some, trained dogs. Got to train the actor a little bit, but I don't think the actors would have had a problem. They're like, I have to get trained to like get attacked by a dog, or even a stunt double.
Stunt doubles.
Yeah. Like there's ways around it, and just.
I don't know, man. We weren't in the meeting rooms. We don't know what could have happened. Maybe it was like an added-on thing or a last-minute thing.
I'll be totally honest. If I got the opportunity to sit in a room with the producers and ask them one question only about the entire show.
What is it?
I don't even know if I would ask about the ending. Oh, I don't even know if I'd ask about the Game Master or all these things that are driving me insane to my core. I would ask, like, why the baby? Why?
Why the baby being the winner?
No. Why CGI the baby?
Oh, why? That would be the one thing.
That's like
I'm sure you can Google it.
come on.
They got to do an interview at some point.
There's
Why they
no
did
way
it.
it was cheaper. Like I don't.
If it doesn't exist now, there's going to be an interview down the road years from now because people are still going to probably talk about
There
this.
is something on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but it looks like a behind the scenes.
The behind the scenes
they talk
thing?
about it. I haven't watched it yet.
I should watch that, but I don't know if they're going to touch on that.
I doubt they will.
But that's going to be like on a YouTube video.
I have no expectations of the CGI baby being addressed.
Squid Game creator comments on bad CGI comments. That's what it's going to be.
And then maybe they have the excuse like, hey, it's just, it's just a baby,
Yeah,
it could have been. I'm like,
it wasn't them.
I'm like, you don't understand how much more emotionally drawn in. I told you already, I cried 10 times at the show.
Yeah.
Could have been 15 for all I know if you would have used a real baby. At least just show a real baby. Like, scenes when they're in the sleep room, like the main room where they're all sleeping.
Could have been a real baby.
Show the baby sleeping next to the mom. If you would have put a real baby in the scenes just with the mom holding it, just because of my emotional connection to the mom.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that's my favorite character. That would have drawn me in so much more.
Maybe there's something we don't know.
So much more.
Maybe like child labor in movies isn't allowed in different countries or stuff like
There's
that.
kids in the movie though. I mean,
There are kids, but infants, I don't know. The dog, I don't know. Maybe it was just a last minute thing.
Maybe.
We weren't on set. Maybe it was like a... I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparison that we did.
Maybe they're just in the meeting room and they're like, you know what? Hey, AI's really taking off. We could probably take advantage of that.
Hey,
Let's use that bad boy.
There's a few CGI shots in the last ride that are not fully thought out.
No.
And the effects are, if you look back, they're not. It's the last minute ones. And like someone could easily say, well, that's just so poorly done.
Yeah, but we're not Squid Game.
But also that was a last minute thing.
Yeah.
That shot wasn't in the final thing. I just needed a placeholder, so we hurried up, CGI'd that, rendered it, and the thing needed to be done in an hour. So you don't know. Maybe they needed to get it done with a deadline or something. We weren't there to see what happened.
How many times did you cry during the show? Did you cry during the show?
Season 2 and season 3, I did not.
Okay.
But that night, I binged almost all of season 1.
Right. I guess the marble scene probably got you.
It was the Marvel scene, and that was about it. When it was that scene where a lot of them got nixed, the one dude got betrayed by the guy, and you saw him, he's starting to tear up. The two girls that worked together, she was saying goodbye, and then the icing on the cake, which, of course, we didn't know at the time, but the old man finally giving up. You kind of knew it was coming because he was getting, dementia and senile, and he was shutting down. So you were like, I'm going to have to watch this old man die, aren't I? And the music. Did you notice they use the same piano key every time someone important dies? It's that same.
I noticed they tend to use a lot of the same tracks and stuff for certain things, which I didn't mind. I didn't hate it. Like when they do the voting, it's always the same song.
Yes.
But I don't. It's not. I'm not complaining
just
about
thinking
it,
about that now. I get goosebumps because those voting scenes were like.
You're always like, maybe it'll be different this time, and it never is.
But then immediately they start voting stay. Another thing, speaking about music, there's a lot of good music in Squid Game.
Yes.
I was telling Lexi about this the other day. I really liked it got a little emotional. I felt something. I didn't cry, but when the whole place is about to get blown up and they go to flashbacks at every room,
it
was sad music, but then they integrated the Squid Game theme. They slowed it down a little bit, and it was like the final shot of the doll. It felt like a goodbye. It was like, wow, it's truly an end of an era.
That was a good scene.
But then another thing I was going to bring up is I mentioned it to you over text that I was like, I feel like season 3 isn't becoming as like a phenomenon as the last two. And a big part of those first 2 seasons were the 2 songs that came out. So for season 1, every TikTok was using the
I know which one you're talking about.
That and the red light, green light. The girl singing the chant. Mm-hmm. Season 2 was the merry-go-round one.
Yep.
And everyone was like making memes of like Thanos and all that with that song. Season 3, even though it had new game, I guess the jump rope scene, the jump rope had a song to it, but it didn't really it didn't take off like all the other ones.
It didn't catch.
So that's why I was like, it doesn't seem like it's like integrating itself into pop culture as much.
I think
So
they just put more emphasis in season 3 on kind of like just events leading up to the end.
Yeah.
They're more focused on
it was
kind
very
of
depressed. It was more just like
trying to hone in on the story.
yep.
Because the girl sacrificing herself for her baby is probably the most like important part to the story. Like you know, as it relates to the end of the show.
Yeah.
And
There are no happy moments in season 3.
Man, was she jumped. You know what scene I think did make me cry the hardest, which might be a bit of a surprise. And it's a toss up because the scene with that I mentioned earlier with the son and the mom after the merry-go-round game, that one hit because that one just hit in a different way. But the scene that got me the most, surprisingly, it didn't even have anything to do with death. It's it's in season 2 when the three go to the bathroom. The old lady,
Yes.
the girl as she's pregnant still, and the transgender one, and they're all in there, and you know the whole time she's like, I'm fine. The old lady being caring is like, do you need anything? You with the baby, you need help? And like she's like, I'm fine, all independent, and she's in the bathroom, and then she goes, the old lady's like, are you all right in there? And she doesn't answer, and like you kind of hear like a little weep, and I'm like, oh no, what's happening? And then she opens the door, and the old lady's like, oh, what's wrong? Are you hurt? What's happening? Is your stomach hurting? And then she just goes like, I'm scared, and starts crying. Oh man, that one hit me. I was like, oh, because that's like a level of like, I feel that one.
Yeah.
Like I feel, because I like put myself in her shoes. I'm like, she's pregnant, and they just voted yes. The game's like, there's no way out of it for her. She's trapped in there.
Whereas like season 1, remember they all voted and they were all like, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and they came back.
And they all came back, which was a thing that like kind of added to it. Was like you kind of was like you felt scared for them, but then you were like, but they all came back.
Yeah.
So they were there willingly. They knew if they failed, they were going to die. So that kind of showed that they were kind of pathetic and kind of that desperate.
Yeah.
But season 2 and season 3, you felt trapped because the monsters on the other side were just overpowering them. That scene where they did the riot in the middle of the night, that was absolutely disturbing.
The fight scene in the bathroom?
No,
Or,
in season. Remember in season 2 when they're all crowded in the corner, and the main guy's like, when the lights go out, that's when the fighting starts.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just gonna like a vision type of scene, but it was actually going down. I think the first thing, the guy jumps out of his bed and starts immediately stabbing the girl as she's laying in bed and she's screaming. And like, what was it like? They do the strobe.
Yeah.
That is disturbing.
Because that's not something we're doing like, this is just a cool effect. Like that's something that like in the game,
like that's when
they're doing that on purpose.
Yes, and I felt more afraid at those scenes because that was like, holy shit.
Because that's when it's like the game people that are running it, like they want this.
Yeah,
this is what they want.
So those people don't want to be there. They're playing these games, and now they have to fight for survival through the night. So, but then I also was kind of confused because at the end of season 3, when it was just the few left and the baby, and they were plotting to kill the baby, I was confused because the guard was like, any violence outside of the games is strictly prohibited.
I kind of understood that because, like, it's all the game master's doing. He's the one kind of...
They wanted to keep the baby
They want to keep the baby in. They want to, like... He has a plan at that point.
Yeah.
He's like, I know exactly how this is going to play out and how I can, like... Because at the time, it's like... I think as soon as he decided that the baby was a part of the game, from that moment, he knew what the plan was going to be.
Yeah.
It's like, I know how...
Because I knew it wasn't like that in season 1 because dude got up from his sleep and killed the girl and they didn't care. Because I thought it was whatever you do in there is free game. It's just more players eliminated. So yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, they were bending the rules and changing it up so they could keep the game going as long as possible, and they wanted to see the baby in that thing. So what is your final... I know we kind of talked about this. We're going to get into our final thoughts about Squid Games here.
Yes.
But I kind of knew there's always been rumors that we were building up to Squid Game going to other countries and stuff like that. And of course, America. And I think there was like something that was semi-confirmed like last winter that there is something in the works of like an American version of the show. And then boom, we kind of get a little taste of that when we see Kate Blanchett playing the Douchi game, which I kind of thought was weird because I thought
that's a real actor. I didn't know. I don't.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett. She's a popular Hollywood actor, but
I did not know that.
I thought it was weird that she was playing that envelope game in America. I thought it would have been different because I'd never heard of that game until I saw Squid Game. So
Well, because I get kind of. I mean, what are you gonna do? Change it to like a different game, and it's kind of the same concept. Like they
Maybe.
kind of really kind of make the message feel the same.
yeah.
Because I think that's the point. If you had no idea where they're gonna try to go with it, like with the show expanding somewhere else, they blow the place up, and you're like, I mean, is that it? Is that the end of it? And then you see them playing that game. You hear the thuds, and you see them playing that game. So you immediately know in your head, you're like, oh no, I know what's happening here.
Yeah.
If they did it with a different game, it might not have that same kind
Right.
of hit. And also the fact that she's playing with a homeless guy in the alleyway too, which is kind of how they the start of season 2. It's kind of how they emphasize. That's why they go after the people they go after, the people that are like kind of low on their luck or like that are in bad spots like that.
Yeah.
Like the scene when the guy goes to the park with the bread and lottery tickets, and then he just smashes all the bread in front of everyone. I didn't know what to make of that scene at first. I was like,
Yeah, that was kind of going off the rail from season 1.
yeah, because I was like, is he just going on a tangent because he's crazy, or is this like part of
He
his
was crazy. He
his
was
job?
a crazy character.
When he blew his own brains out in season 2,
He
like
was
first
always
episode. I mean,
he
that was
never cheated in his game, man.
that was
He was playing for the game.
I think at that moment when he did kill himself with the main character when they were playing the Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Once he like shot himself, that's when I was like, this might be like my favorite show. Like that is such a
Yeah.
wow. Like
And that was what, the first or second episode already into it?
So
I'm like, already we're back.
But yeah, now back to your point with the games in America. I also didn't understand when the game master, the original game master, rolls down his window, sees the woman playing the game with the guy, and she stares at him and he stares at her. You think they know each other? Do you think she knows who he is?
Maybe.
He knows what she's doing. Do you think she kind of knows and she's giving him like a stare of confirmation, like, yes, we're picking up where you left off? Or do you think maybe there's a slight change in his head? He's like, oh no, they're doing it here. Like, I didn't know.
I think my way I saw it was they've already been going on everywhere else.
Right.
Maybe all of them came together and had meetings or something. I don't know, monthly meetings.
Yeah, it could be.
And maybe they did know each other, or it was just a slight glance like, I know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And then she kind of maybe gets the idea or something like that. Or what. But I don't think like, oh, the South Korea version's gone. Now they're immediately going to start doing it in the U.S. I think as this whole show is going on, there are Squid Games just everywhere.
That is a good question, though. I wonder, because, like, that is the one question I have. Like, were they all going on at the same time, or is it, like, just a passing of the torch of shitty...
I think it was going on everywhere the whole time.
Which I'm sure if they do proceed, which, you were going to ask me my take on that, right?
Yeah, because I saw another AI generated thing of American Squid, and it was like Duck Duck Goose and
Oh, God.
you know.
My brother told me, too. He saw the rumor of who would be directing it if it would happen, which I didn't even know it was a thought.
Oh, really?
I'd have to go back and look at the name. I forget. I'm not even going to bother. I'll mention it to you after we're done. But I didn't even know that was a thought or a possibility. And I don't know if I'm in the minority or the majority here. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I think the way that they did it, I think they could do it, but it would have to be like done perfectly to really. First of all, you gotta get good actors. Let's start there, all right? Yeah. But no, just like the way they executed the show and everything in it was just so perfectly well done. I'm a big believer. Like if you try to drag something on more than its original intention, it's gonna tend to get sloppy, or it's gonna just not have the same feel. And especially if you're bringing it to a totally different group of people making it, because I don't know how much influence that the same producers would have if it would be just made by somebody else entirely. Like, what would like the style? Would the style be the same? Would the scenes kind of take on the same flow? Like
I don't know.
And like it's interesting to think, and like it's cool to see what they would do. But if they make it, I have no high expectations at all. I know I'll watch it, and I'm probably not going to like it because I set myself with like high standards, you know.
Yeah.
Especially on a show this good.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be hard to follow up.
And I do have one last point too, just unrelated to all this. One last point about the show, and I think that'll really kind of clear most of my thoughts here.
Okay.
But as they're wrapping up all the characters' stories, you know, showing where everybody that lived, you know, where they go on and do what they do. I love how after the main character falls off and they blow the place up and everyone escapes and all that good stuff, I look down, there's still like half the episode left, maybe a little less. And I'm like, okay, interesting, what are they gonna do here? Because like I already wasn't expecting the main character to die, let alone that early. Like I figured maybe that would be something that could happen, but the scene they jump to, I don't remember if it's a scene of the game master breaking into the main character's apartment with the money. I think it was. In the very next scene, it jumps to the girl that was one of the employees, one of the red guys, and she's at that same park she used to work at, getting a portrait done from the guy that she saved, who had no idea who she was. I loved that scene. I love how they kind of, because I'm like, how are you going to finish the story now? The main character is like dead, and there's only a handful of people left. What more could you really like, you know, cater to here? And I think they did a great job of that. I don't like how open-ended they left her story. Maybe they're gonna put it in the next. I doubt it.
You know what threw me off? I was confused.
Does it have to do with her, like this part? Yeah.
That part, yes.
Okay.
So remember when she's about to take off for the airport and the guy's like, "Good luck."
Yes.
But before that scene, he was I forgot. I had to watch a video.
Right.
I forgot that was the brother of the chick from season 1. Finally.
Yeah.
I was like, "What's going on here?"
I had to go back and look it up too, because the way they set up the scene, obviously, was somebody important.
Yeah.
And like the way the mom interacted with the son, I was like,
I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, did I miss something?
Like, clearly, I should remember who this is, because I forgot kind of like the story of the girl from season 1 too. Like her backstory was that she also fled from North Korea and was trying to get her mom back to the States. That was her whole purpose of joining the games. So that scene was awesome. And if you remembered season 1 better than me or you did, that scene probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta remember it's been 4 years at this point. Since
so I looked it up though, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like a cool conclusion to an older story. And then it cuts to the other girl from season 3, who was also a flea from North Korea, who's looking for her daughter, of course. Thought her daughter was dead because the file she found said daughter dead. Guy calls her, he's like, "We may have found your daughter," and she slams on the brakes. And I was like, oh man, like there's still some emotion left in the show. Okay.
Yeah.
And then she goes to the airport, gets on the plane to go look for her. No conclusion to her story at all. I would love to know if she found her daughter or not.
I don't think her storyline's gonna get picked up in the American version either.
Yeah. I doubt it. And maybe they meant to do it that way, leave it open. I want to know if she found her daughter. That's because the shit she did. She was maybe the second most badass character on the show.
Yeah.
Because she went through so much, and to save some random guy's life. And a lot of my theories that I had at the end of season 2 came to fruition actually, because I knew. At the end of season 2, after the people all surrender, after they have their shootout, right?
Yeah.
And the one guy is like, "Oh, please don't kill me. My daughter's sick." And then I'm like,
"Oh yeah."
And I'm like, "Oh, the person that's in the red right now aiming at him is probably that girl because she knows him." And I'm like, "So she's probably gonna do something." And then she shoots him, and I'm like, "Okay, I don't know then." I don't know. But I had in my head, I was like, they're not just gonna kill him and not correlate something to his story. And then they pick it right up on season 3 where they show that it was her and she intentionally missed so he wouldn't die. And so I was right about that. I just didn't know it at the time. And then the boat captain also, I knew he was working for the other people.
Oh yeah,
I picked up on that pretty early. I'm sure most people did, but some people I told my theory to and they were like, "I guess." And I'm like, "No, he's..." Even before he had that scene where he stabbed the guy with the screwdriver, I'm like, he's... And I knew it had something to do with the kidney people, too, the organ harvesters, whatever. I'm like, he probably drives the boat that carries the people to pick up the organs that they're harvesting. It just makes too much sense.
Yep.
And, he was, and all that good stuff. So, but back to the North Korean girl. So, no conclusion on her story. I also didn't understand why the guy that was helping her worked for a company. He was also helping the girl from season 1, her family, because he was the one that brought the mom back to the girl's brother and reunited them. And then he sees over his shoulder that the season 3 girl is going up the escalator to the plane. So he calls her Well, he's in the same airport looking at her. And he's like, calls her. He's like, are you flying out now? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I had things. And I'm like, what do you mean you couldn't make? You're there. Couldn't you just say goodbye to these people? You did your job there. They're reunited. And then go help her. Like, it seemed a little fishy, just the way he went about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even say, like, oh, by the way, I'm here too. I was just finishing another meeting here, but, you know, I'll come face to face, say, like, you know, good luck to you. I don't know. There's just,
Right.
It just seemed a little odd, which makes it a little more irritating that they didn't finish the story.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like there's something more that may never get answered.
Yeah.
And, but I don't know. I read into things a little way too much sometimes, so maybe they were just like us at the end of the last ride. They're like, it's done. All right.
We gotta stop.
It's done.
Oh.
It's like, we're not going to put in a whole scene of her just showing up in China. It's like, my daughter, yay, and then it's over.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know what I was expecting. But
Oh, well. All right.
man,
So, what are your final thoughts on Squid Game now that it's tied up and wrapped in a bow?
I just love a show that can emotionally draw me in, and there's not been a lot of shows like that.
Same for
More
me.
of a movie, I don't know, like Lost and House are the two shows that I've watched the most. And I mean, obviously, Squid Game tops them because Squid Game's a whole adventure.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they ended up. They said they were going to originally season 2 was going to be season 2 and 3 into one, and it was going to just be one season, and they split it, which I'm glad they did.
That's like a thing Netflix
You
does. They'll do the splitter where it's like a 2-month gap or something.
Which is good because, I mean, first of all, I would binge, 16, 12 episodes in one night?
Yep. I guess it keeps the conversation going longer.
Yeah, it's good. But also, then it also was like, okay, I only have 6 episodes to watch this season. That kind of sucks, but whatever. But I don't know if I can, like, just go and say, like, my favorite show.
I don't know.
Because Lost, man.
I would say it's pretty close.
No, it's up there. It's one of the most well-made shows, and I just really, 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 really am fearful to see what they might do if they try to continue it.
I am very fearful, but
especially in America.
But you know what? If it's not as good, we'll always have our trilogy of the original.
It's like I can't even think of an example. I'm trying to think of like an example of a movie that was amazing and they made a sequel and the sequel just sucked.
I can think of a few.
No, there's a lot. I just can't off it specifically. But,
well,
yeah.
Speaking of movies, I agree too. A lot of the shows that I got into were like the Marvel, Star Wars, Disney Plus ones, and they were bi-weekly, so it was no binge factor.
All right.
Once they were done, they were done. There wasn't really ever a show on Netflix that I got into as much as Squid Game, and I will always remember it as that show, especially that night where I stayed up all night binging it. So.
I do want to tell you about these two. Chernobyl, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that comes to mind. That's a mini series, so I don't know if it's in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is the best show I've ever watched, by far. That takes the cake by far. I just watched a show on Netflix also. After Squid Game. I just finished it. It's only 4 episodes. It's a mini-series. And I wanted to tell you about it because the concept is awesome. And this will be the last thing I bring up, hopefully. We've already gone well over our expected time, but I think that's good, though. That's good. No, but I watched this show. It's so good. Very emotional show, again. Another emotional one. And I found out about it because, as you know, my favorite musical artist, Aurora, or as you call her, what do you call her? A Ro or something weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, did I ever tell you the story? It's a very deep story. I wrote Aurora a letter, and people that don't know her, she's a Norwegian singer. She sings in English, not Norwegian. Let me just but she's pretty popular among certain groups. She played the singing voice in Frozen. You know, she was the voice.
Oh, was she really?
The voice, you know, that was her.
Wait, this was a character in Frozen, or she was the voice?
No, she was like just the voice of like winter or whatever, like the like that.
I'm not a Frozen person. So.
I'm not either, but I know that because it's Aurora.
Yeah, you're a fan of her.
That's what people would. That's what I could reference that people know.
You'd be familiar, yeah.
Okay. But I've listened to her music for ages, like forever. And in my youth, I went through some hard times. Okay. And like her music helped me through a lot of that. And one time I wrote her a fan letter, and I don't know if I've even told you the story. I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I wrote her a letter, and I told her kind of my. I'm not going too in detail because I don't want to be that creepy, like over obsessive fan. But just tell her kind of my thing, my story, like just how much her music has impacted me and got me through what I've been through. And then kind of mention like one song in particular that like really kind of helped me in life. And the song is called "Through the Eyes of a Child." Amazing. I cry every time I hear it.
Yeah.
But also because for more reason than just that though, I wrote this letter, and when you write fan letters too, the thing is I've never done it before. This is the first time ever, but it's like how am I ever gonna know if this letter was read or acknowledged? I gotta send it to a PO box of her agent in Norway. Like, what are the odds that gets messed up somehow, or it's the wrong place, or it's never delivered? Like, who knows? I'll never know. That's the thing. So, but I mentioned the song in the letter. I also mentioned in the letter that I was gonna finally be going to one of her concerts, and I told her it was gonna be the one in DC, the date and all that. You know, I don't know why I threw it in there, but I did. And so we go to this concert. I've seen her twice now. This is the first time. We go to her concert in Washington DC. Greatest night of my life. Amazing time. And so she's going through her show. I'm front row because, of course.
Yes, I remember that.
Have to. Yep. I was in line, 6
There was an Instagram pic, and you zoomed in, and you could see you just standing right there.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a couple actually. Yeah. But it's because I'm also very tall compared to most of her fan base. It's a lot of females that are her fans, of course, but also there's a lot of guys too. But I was like the tallest in the crowd, so. But so she's going through her routine, but between songs now and then she'll start going into like dialogue, talking, kind of relating to the audience because she's a very relatable person. And she starts bringing up, she brought up how like she reads like letters, like fan letters and stuff, and like how much they mean to her and stuff. And she kind of went into a spiel. She's like, what I'm trying to say is the next song is for like the people in pain. And there's a video of her talking. But, and then, like, I'm just kind of standing there, and I'm like, wow, I wonder if, like, so she probably did. I wonder if she did read my thing. And she starts to go into a song. I don't know what the song is, but it's the song that I mentioned in the letter. Immediately started tearing up, because I'm like, I'm like, no way this is happening right now. Like, I'm front row. She's right there playing this song and I'm like, she plays this song through. One of the most beautiful songs you could ever hear live, because it's a very like vocal. You'd have to listen to understand, but
right.
So she played it though, and I'm just losing my mind, just emotional wreck. And like some of the people I met at the show up in the front row with me, like saw me, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so touching," and like so like after the show, I'm still processing. I'm like, wow, and then I realize I'm like, I wonder if like. I wonder if she like played that song because like I mentioned it and that much like And I looked at her set list from this specific tour, because we were the very last show in her tour. No other show that she did in this entire tour she played this song. Ours was the only one.
Oh.
And once that hit me, I'm like, oh my gosh,
she did it
she
for
like
you.
read the letter and played it for me, like, and I'm just there in front of her.
You got to meet her, didn't you?
That was at a later show. Yeah, I saw her second time in San Francisco. And we're just waiting outside 6 hours.
Because I didn't know who this chick was,
Yes.
and she became, you did a selfie with her, and it became your profile picture.
Yeah, you had.
And we were all back here at home going, did Brandon get a girlfriend?
No, the people I worked with at Zoomies at the time on there, because I talked about her all the time, and they were like, no way!
Oh, see, yeah, we didn't know.
Because we're just standing there. There's still only like 8 people in line. We were the second group in line, me and Randy, and we're behind this other group, like 4 people. One of them is just a grown man. I'm not making fun of him when I say this, but it's just a grown-ass man, taller than me, just wearing a full-on Aurora outfit.
Oh, yeah?
He was dressed like Aurora, had an Aurora wig on. He sold the bit, and listen, it was cool, though. He was I talked to him, too. He was an awesome guy.
Oh, yeah?
But, and we're all just sitting there, and, there's, like, security guards that are out kind of just standing before, because the line hadn't really started. And we're just sitting on the sidewalk, and I'm facing the road, and Randy kind of, like, leans into me, and he's like, hey, she's behind you. And he said it just like that, just nowhere. It's just like, hey, she's behind you.
Oh,
and I'm just, no, I thought he meant like, I'm like, oh, the security guard's like walking by me trying to get through or something. I'm like, what? And he's like, no, she's behind you. And I'm like, what? And I turn around, and I see the group next to us stand up, and they're like, oh my gosh, Aurora, will you sign? And then like I look over, and I look at Randy, I'm like, there's no fucking shot Aurora standing
Randy
right
is
here.
the guy you always go to.
He's in the road trip documentaries.
Yes, he's in the road trip documentaries.
You're going to ask if he's as big a fan?
Yeah.
No, I made him go.
Oh, wow. That's a good friend right there.
Because, he doesn't hate the music. It's just kind of, I'm like, hey, you want to go to a concert just in San Francisco, the furthest possible place we can go. And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? So, but yeah, I met her, took a picture with her. I was too overwhelmed to speak because, like, maybe I could have said she was like spent some time talking to fans because that's what she does. She walks around before the show. She knows there's not a ton of people there yet, so she'll kind of talk to some of them. One lady was telling her, an older lady in like a wheelchair, telling her stories about like different things that she's done, like because of Aurora's inspiration. Somebody had Aurora like draw a picture kind of like on their arm so that they could go and get it like tattooed. So they would have like an Aurora made tattoo on them. You know what I mean? So at the time I wasn't even thinking about it, but I could have said like, I'm like, Aurora, you might not remember, a long time ago I wrote you this letter and I brought the song up and you played it at the show, and like I just wanted to let you know that was like the most magical moment in my life. I didn't say any of that because I was just too like, oh my god, what do I do? But I got a picture and I met her and it was amazing. But
Awesome.
Anyway, so that whole thing, that's why that's a whole story in of itself. The point is the show I was telling you about. This is probably going to be what most of our podcasts are like. All right. Is it going to me talk about something and it just goes off something else?
Also, I want to point out how unprofessional we are right now because I just popped in a thing of gum, and I think that's like one of the universal rules is you don't fucking chew gum.
We don't hear it. You know,
we'll see. I mean,
I've been hitting my little vase view here, too, but that's different.
All right, continue.
But so the show is on Netflix. And the reason I got into the show was because I found out that Aurora song, that song specifically, was in the show. And I think it was like social media. I saw it, and it showed like the last scene. And obviously, I don't want to watch the last scene of a show that I'm probably gonna watch. But I was like, wow, okay. So it's on Netflix now. It's pretty new. It's called Adolescence. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's
no.
It's a bit of a I don't want to classify it as a murder mystery because it's really not what it is. It's a drama. But you can watch a trailer for it on Netflix if you're interested. It's so good. Yeah. And it's compelling is the word for it. Compelling. Right. Heavy Scottish accent, so be ready for that. But that adds to it, though. And so, but it's only 4 episodes. Okay. But the interesting thing about the show, and why I thought I'd tell you about it, Karsen, because all 4 episodes, each episode, the entire episode is done in one shot. And these are hour-long episodes.
Oh, so, okay.
It's all one shot. Like, the camera does not cut at any point. The camera follows them around. And the way they executed it, I don't know how they did it. It's incredible. Like, the first one, they travel back and forth between a couple buildings, but the camera, like, it's in the car with them. It's just such a cool concept. I've never heard of anyone doing that. And when I was reading online that it said it was done in one take, and I was like, that must mean something else, because there's no way they filmed it in one continuous take, and they did, and it's amazing. It's such a good show. It draws you in though because of its like the drama to it. So I just wanted to bring that show up too, something that maybe you should check out
as you're closing the Squid Game.
As we're closing the Squid Game, because it was just kind of the topic of emotional shows.
Right.
Which I'm sure there'll be more of those in the future.
There'll be plenty more.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Oppenheimer.
I was just about to bring it up. So we're running out of time here, but we're gonna speed through this real quick. But I just wanted to say, one of the most memorable cinematic experiences I've ever had, and I've had a lot of them. You invited me out one night, and we had the chance to watch Oppenheimer in the IMAX in Homestead Waterfront.
Now, it wasn't the first time I'd seen
Oppenheimer. No, this is not the first time you saw it. It was the first time I saw it.
First time you saw it, first time I saw it in IMAX.
Yes.
Because when I saw it the first time, I knew. I was like, I have to see this in an IMAX.
Oh, yeah, you had to. It was like, had to do it. It was part of the phase.
Yeah. I'm almost upset that I didn't get to go see it in one of like the 13, like the specialized 70 millimeter.
The 75
like,
millimeter.
Those crazy.
Yeah.
The closest one was like in like Rochester, New York.
Yeah. But even the waterfront was far for you.
Oh, yeah, no. But, well, I mean, I go there occasionally. It's not terrible.
All of the biggest movies, the memories in that theater, man, the girls I've taken out on dates there to the gigantic movie premieres. Like, all the special things happen at that theater, I swear to God.
If you missed out on Oppenheimer and IMAX, you truly missed out on something special.
So, speaking of Christopher Nolan, I'm not sure if you're interested, but spoiler alert for... this is not really a spoiler alert, but this is like something really cool. So, and it's very old-fashioned. I went to see Jurassic World Rebirth with Anthony and Bryce last week when it came out. And since it's the same studio... before the movie begins, you get the first snippet of The Odyssey, which is Christopher Nolan's next movie that comes out next year.
Okay.
And it has another stacked cast like Oppenheimer. And it's just like how it was in the old days where the trailer didn't drop online and everyone watched it and then you go to the theater and see the same trailer. Yeah. Back in the day, when the internet wasn't around, if a new trailer was out, you had to go to the theater to see it. And when the trailer started, you were like, what the fuck is this? And then it started and you're like, this is it. So,
I miss those days.
Yeah, when I was a kid, definitely. But the screen started, you immediately knew the opening shot was Christopher Nolan. And you saw Tom Holland. It wasn't a trailer, it was just a split scene of two actors talking with like little snippets. And it was like Dunkirk mixed in with all of his other work. So that was pretty cool to see. Are you interested in that, or was it just the theme of Oppenheimer?
Well, the theme. Oppenheimer, to this day, is still at a tie for first in my favorite movie of all time.
Uh-huh. What was the second one?
Black Mass.
Oh.
I was wondering, with Johnny Depp.
Uh-huh.
Not as big a movie at all, but... oh, my God, I've watched the movie so many times. Oppenheimer, Black Mass, but... Yeah, I don't know anything about this one that you're talking about. Is this like a sequel to anything, or...?
No, it's a book. I mean, I read that it was it used to be a required read in high school, but a lot of people have ditched it. I didn't have to read the Odyssey.
Was this one of those
It's like
was
a
it
Greek...
I mean, it had to be a Michael Crichton book, right?
I don't know.
Because he made Jurassic Park and.
I don't know. I think it's older than Michael Crichton. Okay. This is like Greek gods.
Oh, you're talking old.
See, I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff.
No,
so.
I know. I've heard of it. I know it.
Yeah, I think it's an older book that's been like remade a few times, and
mm-hmm.
I think actually they've made movies about this. It's just Christopher Nolan is doing it.
That's a whole different animal.
It's gonna be he's gonna turn it into a cinematic experience. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be like Dune. It's gonna be like a whole thing, and it comes out I think next July. So
next July is in 1 year from now.
Yep. It came on the screen. It was like 7, blah, 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 26. So.
I'll definitely look into this one, though.
But, yep, Oppenheimer was a great experience. It was very long, of course, but I will never forget that explosion scene. And then you turned to me and you're like, you like that, huh? I was like, yeah, that was very well done. And you're like, well, get comfortable because we have like another hour and a half of trials to get through. And I was like, oh. But then the scene where he's in the gymnasium and they start stomping and he starts to have visions of everyone's flesh peeling away. That one stuck. Dude. And then also Robert Downey Jr.'s little rant scene in the courtroom also stuck with me too. And then of course the ending. And then I never will forget that soundtrack.
Coldest final line in like movie history.
Oh yeah. Yep, that soundtrack just screams 2023 to me.
I still listen to that soundtrack like
I do too.
On my phone in the car.
Yep,
like,
I do too. I'll put that song to whatever. If I'm feeling like nostalgic in my feels, I'll put that on. What I do regret though is not doing the Barbenheimer thing, because I wanted to get on that trend where we saw, and I think I gave that option to you, and you kind of you decided just to stick with the one. Plus, we saw Oppenheimer at like midnight, and we didn't get out of the theater until like past 4 a.m. Yeah. So
I do not regret not seeing Barbie.
Really? See, I didn't really mind it. Of course, Anthony Capp, if you're watching, the Dance the Night Dua Lipa song. Everyone who works at 3RK, every time that song comes on, they think of me because I do the Ken Ryan Gosling dance, and I don't judge, but I also did enjoy the Barbie movie to a certain extent.
See, I don't even understand the reference, so.
I gotcha. So just that whole era, that right there was like was like going back to like movie theaters were coming back after COVID, and they were really like blowing up because they struggled a few years after COVID, like. Here and there. So that was like, I feel like...
Happy they're still around, though. I mean, they've
absolutely
kind of survived,
You know, there was an article saying, like, the death of movie theaters in 20 years. But, I mean, America loves their dinosaurs. We saw Jurassic World every showing that night. Book solid. So, I mean, it's just going to take smart planning and, unfortunately, a lot of franchise milking and stuff like that.
I mean, they've made so many already, and that's when I start to get lost. But
yeah,
I was never as heavily into the Jurassic World as a lot of people.
Yeah, so. It's been a roller coaster ride, but this last one, not enjoyable. But that's, I guess, a story for another day. But let me think. So, just a quick thing on Oppenheimer. That's a whole deep story, even deeper than
We might dedicate an episode in the future.
Yeah, we were silly to think cramming Squid Game and Oppenheimer and The Last Ride all in one episode was gonna work. Clearly not.
I tried to warn you.
Yep. So, but the way we're gonna wrap this up, I just thought of this 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap this up with some rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire questions. Okay.
That you can only really just reply in a few words.
All right. Let's hear it.
What's one place you visited that you traveled to? It's your number one favorite place.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Really? Interesting.
No question.
All right. I was gonna ask what your favorite movie is, but we already know it's tied between those two.
Yes, sir.
And then
Are you not gonna answer these questions?
Well, you're gonna ask me.
I'm gonna forget the questions.
You're right. All right.
Favorite place you've ever visited?
Without a doubt, staring right at my screen, the Outer Banks. It's my favorite place in the world. I'm going next month. I'm so excited.
All right.
I'd live there.
And your favorite movie?
Oh, if you believe you deserve it, the universe will serve it, baby. Pain and Gain. It's a Michael Bay movie with one explosion. Should I explain a little bit? Pain and Gain. The night I saw that as a 13-year-old, it turned me into a man. Okay. It has Mark Wahlberg, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Anthony Mackie before he became the Falcon and Captain America. It is a true story of 3 bodybuilders in the 90s in Miami who were tired of being poor. So they decided to get rich fast by kidnapping a famous guy who was part of their gym.
I think I remember this now, yes.
Yep. They tortured him until he signed over all their assets. They tried to kill him. They were complete idiots. They failed multiple times to kill him. They didn't know he was still alive. He went to the hospital. No one believed his story. The muscleheads blew all their money quickly. Mind you, they're living in all of his houses and stuff like that. They blew all their money. They find themselves in a pickle. And they were like, well, let's just do it again. So they go after a couple. They accidentally kill the couple. But I'm not sure. I think that's where like the movie and the true story kind of disconnect. Because the movie kind of makes it seem like it was an accident death. But I think in real life they actually did just kill them. But that's when they started to slip up. And people were like, wait a minute, this couple just went missing. And then the stuff from their first victim seemed to be making a little bit more sense. And then they eventually get caught. So the actual documentary is actually very scary because it's just you ever seen the meme where it's like in true stories when they show the real person in the credits and they look nothing like the movie star and they look ugly and scary? Yeah. That's how these people looked. The guy who really did this was a bodybuilder, but he did not look like Mark Wahlberg. So, but it's an absolute great movie. I think it's Michael Bay's best movie because it focuses on the characters, the comedy and stuff like that. But it does get a lot of hate because he kind of turned a real life tragedy where the victims are still alive into a dark comedy. So, but yeah, there's only a few explosions and they are served to the story. They're not overdone. Okay. But I also like all the other Michael Bay movies too. So.
Thanks for the explanation, even though you said no explanation.
Oh yeah, I have a pain. I have a Pain and Gain poster in my room, bro. No one believes me, but it's there.
I believe you. All right, any more rapid fires?
Oh, I was gonna think of more, but then you got me on Pain and Gain. So,
you wrap it up, huh?
I guess so. So if we were to happen to do a second episode, should we have a guest star?
Yeah, we could. We could maybe get some feedback from the people, anybody who sat through all of this. Obviously, listen.
I don't know, man.
Listen, we went off, and this is honestly, Karsen, this is about exactly how I thought this was gonna go. Mm-hmm. So did sit through all of this. That's awesome. I think just for our own mental sanity, mine at least, we'll probably do another one, just because I need to channel this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But no, it was fun to do this, and if somebody does want to listen to it, then awesome. But
yeah.
I would like to also, if we're wrapping it up here, like to promote some things. All right.
Go for it.
First time I've announced this. Not sure about you, Karsen. This July 17th, 3RK Entertainment Park. We are having our no longer the I'm not even gonna say their name because I don't know how that works. Yeah. But our playoff championship that used to do regular broadcasts for.
Correct.
Had some technical difficulties in the past, but that is back. We are doing our broadcast. It will not be a live stream, but that's even better for you though because that means it's going to be edited.
Yes.
It's going to be great. I feel like the competition this year, I'm not in it this time, so you'll have me in the booth the whole time, but the competition I feel like is going to be closer than it's ever been, and that's saying a lot because in the past it has been incredibly close. I mean, crazy close. And a lot of the big names aren't in it this year. Renegade / El Hombre, Matt, two-time winner, or one-time?
One-time winner, but
One-time
he's
winner.
been close every 3 years in a row.
Always
it's
in the
always
mix.
him and somebody else that are like it comes down to the wire.
He's knocked me out of the second round 3 times. I still haven't forgiven him for that. But he's no longer, he's not in it. Didn't do leagues this year. Road Runner, our old friend Dean, is not partaking in it. Reigning champion though, Kick a Flea, will be in there. So that'll be July 17th. Not sure what the upload date will be.
Not sure.
But so that's coming up very soon, a week from this Thursday. I am so pumped that Daryl was kind enough to let us attempt this again. We know it took a lot of convincing, but
yes, but it'll be better because
it's gonna be our best one yet.
It's not the weekly leagues where people would use those to protest.
It'll be our best one yet, I think.
Absolutely, I'm excited for it. It's our Super Bowl.
Yeah, basically.
It's literally our Super Bowl. Let me pull that out because today started the press tour for it, and there's some things I want to add to it. So it's basically our Super Bowl. It's the most intense night of racing that we have here, and then of course the big draw this year is the Pittsburgh Mascot Charity Race. Say hi to the Snapchat phone here.
We're promoting while we're promoting.
We're promoting while we're promoting. That's something that we do.
That is.
Especially here on the radio station. Are we on the radio right now? The podcast.
We're doing YouTube.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening, we're talking to you.
Yeah, but to the phone, we're on like KDKA or something right now.
Okay.
So the Pittsburgh Mascot Charity Race. The story behind that is last year we had an idea of making it more of a Pittsburgh themed event because it's no longer associated with the whole championship tournament that it was before. It is our own thing. Pittsburgh branded. Three Rivers Karting Entertainment Park is family owned, of course. So we wanted to flex that muscle of being Pittsburgh branded and stuff like that. So we weren't sure if we were able to pull it off, so we kept it a surprise, but we did tease it here and there. During halftime, or I guess right before the final race, we had a mascot race where we had the Pirate Parrot, 2 Pierogies, Steely McBeam, and Iceberg from all the Pittsburgh sports teams come in, and they did a surprise meet and greet, and they did a race for a few laps. So Daryl had a idea for the second time around was to get as many mascots as we can, do it for charity, where fans can vote where they want their mascot starting position in the race by donating to a certain charity. And so far, it's blown up pretty successfully. It's gotten us a lot of attention. The way we have it set up is last year was the Pirate Parrots. He was the champion from the race last year.
He races dirty.
He does. He's going up against all new opponents. We have Loco from Altoona Curve Baseball. We have Romo from our neighbors across the river down at Robert Morris University. We have Rock the Panther from the Pitt Panthers. We have Wild Thing from Washington Wild Things. We have Amo from the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And then, of course, the Pirate Parrot is coming back again for
to defend his title.
Yep. So we'll see where they all stand. I believe as of right now, this is it's July 7th. As of today, Amo shot up from last place to first place, beating out Rock the Panther, who was winning there for a while. So it's getting interesting. It's also interesting to see like people's like personal affiliations with a certain team or mascot that makes them go for that charity or that team. Like I know Robert Morris University, their charity is for veterans, so I know people will really push for that one and stuff like that. So these are all charities that are affiliated with that organization or team. So
it will be included in the broadcast as well.
Yes, absolutely. That broadcast, and then it was just announced today that the popular Pittsburgh personalities, Ya Jagoff from the old Ya Jagoff podcast, which was the podcast I mentioned earlier. That was the only podcast I was on. I was on their podcast. They're coming in, and they're gonna come and commentate the Pittsburgh Mascot Race as well for their channel. So it's gonna be reaching out to a broader audience and stuff like that. More eyes, more people, and we're really pushing it this year. It's not a surprise, but as like a thing, a formal event where you can come in, meet and greet with the mascots. We're gonna have half off arcade games upstairs. Of course, the garage bar and grill, the food, drinks, that's all gonna be open at normal pricing, as well as axe throwing if you're interested as well. So it starts. The mascot portion starts at 8. We'll do a meet and greet for a half an hour around the Victory Lane area. 8:30 is the mascot race, and then we'll do a quick award ceremony after the championship is wrapped up around like, let's say 8:50, 9 o'clock. And we'll crown the champion of the mascot race. And of course, we'll crown the 3RK champion as well. So I believe the rumor is, or the plan is, to have brand new custom made trophies for the mascot and the champion. And of course, the champion will get the 3RK belt, the victory belt, and of course the cash prize. So again, that is Thursday, July 17th. The racing starts around 6:30, and then the mascot portion starts at 8. So definitely check it out. It's our Super Bowl. It's the most intense night of racing you will see here at Three Rivers Karting, even though the championship part doesn't really apply to the general public. But now that we have the mascots in here, and your Jagoff here is going to be here to interact with and stuff like that, it brings more of the public in. So hopefully it's a big success. July is a very, very busy month this year for us. So we're really excited. I'm working very, very hard. My marketing team is also working very hard to make sure everything is pitch perfect.
And me as a broadcaster as well.
Exactly.
Right.
I even... Like, this is, like, the biggest one we've had yet, because it's all the good things that we've experimented throughout the years, all combined into one. Yeah. I guess you could say it's the year to be here this year. It is. The 3RK Championship. We'll have Brandon doing the broadcast. We'll have the mascots, your Jagoff. We'll have all the famous 3RK's best racers down there. Half Off Arcades, Garage Bar and Grill, you name it. So, I mean, it's been tossed around a few times, pun intended, of, like, doing, like, T-shirt tosses in the crowd. We were gonna do like little games on the jumbotron and stuff like that. But it's gonna be a big night for a lot of us here. So we're really, really excited, and we hope you guys come out and experience it for yourself.
I think that's I think that's a wrap, buddy.
That is crazy, man.
How long? What's our runtime?
It looks like it's 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Hey. Bless your soul if you sat through this whole thing. We appreciate you.
There will be chapter times, so if you want
we can segment
a certain spot.
Separate our 3RK talk from our Squid Game talk.
Exactly.
Certainly.
What were we calling this podcast again?
After Hours, because
hours.
we are well after hours.
We are well after hours. It's almost midnight here at Three Rivers Karting Entertainment Park. So.
And I got an hour drive home.
I do. We both do. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time, hopefully with some guest stars. We're going to talk some more movies, maybe some past 3RK videos that we've done, some funny stories. And then as we go, I'm sure more topics will spew.
No topic is really off limits here.
No, and then Brandon, I'm pretty sure, has a list of like 10 different things
I have enough, guys. I have enough. If you know me, you know this. I got enough content and topics to talk about for years on end. All right? So if I don't talk about it on here, I might explode. So
absolutely. Alrighty. Go ahead, sign off, Brandon.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.